Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 19 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast.
And it's me, Carrick, with ACG.
Wait, you reminded me. It's Mr. Maddie Plays here. Mr. Maddie Plays here.
What did you say?
I tried to start that last week. I said Maddie. And some people just call me Maddie, and that's fine. If you know me, call me Maddie. You know my videos, call me Maddie. But for source reference and stuff, I need to start saying Mr. Maddie Plays just a little bit more.
Dude, I'm Carrick, Jeremy, Malinthrax. Like, I have like 85 names because of all the different game. So do you, though. Game tags, I'm assuming, right? Like with friends.
Yeah, because of my Twitter handle, G27 status.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, which
Mr.
confused
Maddie
the fuck out of me
Plays,
when
Maddie.
you and I started. I was like, who is this?
It's an old YouTube channel for those who don't know. It's it has nothing to do with my my current brand, but it's a good reminder of where I came from, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
My
you
roots.
get to look back and go like, wow, back when G27 status was like a Call of Duty thing. I'm assuming, right? Call of Duty?
You would assume correctly. Yeah. There's a ton of lore behind it. Yeah, because it meant Glitcher 27 status. The status meant nothing. But yeah, Glitcher 27 was my first YouTube channel when I was in 8th grade. Completely got shut down. You can still look up G27 status, but all the videos are gone. Because I was an idiot in like my sophomore year of high school and was like, I'm doing single player, so I scorched earth my whole channel except for one video saying, go to Mr. Maddie Plays. So you can actually find that on that channel if anyone's ever curious enough. But enough lore. For those of you who are new here,
that was sort of interesting. Sorry.
Really?
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I didn't want to sound like, what's your word, masturbatory? Like, you know, just like listen to me.
No, dude, you're not Kojima. No, that was actually insanely interesting. I don't think people realize like how many steps you took. That was when you were fucking 8, dude. Like, that's a long time ago. Who knows what the tech was like and all that. Anyway, no, that was very interesting. Continue.
Yeah, we used to dazzle capture cards, HD PVRs. Now we got Elgato's built into the computer.
Oh, dude.
Back
when
in
you
my
and I
day.
started, I think you still use the Haponage or whatever.
Yeah,
I remember.
use Hopog. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking
because it
ages
crashed on me
ago.
all the time. The time. And you were just like, you don't use Elgato? I'm like, what's the difference?
Dude, this is so crazy, man. That's such a blast from the past. Because I remember, when you and I first started talking about tech and all that, all the stuff behind the scenes. God damn, that's a long time ago. Man.
I know, right?
Man.
Now my dad's using Dazzle stuff for our old home DVDs to like make sure they're preserved digitally. So it's like, we're bringing up this old tech. For those of you who are new here, this is an Xbox show, so welcome. We hope you enjoy your stay. Early access for the show goes live every Thursday over at patreon.com/laststandmedia. And if you're a freeloader, you're like, I'm not going to pay them. A lot more people are. We're nearing 11,000 patrons on Last Stand Media, which is insane. #1 gaming Patreon. Also, big thank you to those of you who are coming to our personal Patreons. I've pushed past 450 on my own, which has been incredible to see. I saw Carrick, you had a pretty big boost yourself through your Resident Evil stuff. And so thank you to those of you who just listen and want to support us individually. That's what it's all about. But for those of you who have no interest in that or just want to listen to the show for free, we're available everywhere from YouTube to Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and so on and so forth every Sunday. So you can find us wherever you'd like. And I was looking at some of our podcast rankings and I'm continuously blown away. You know, we are all time, it says like we're number 30, which is crazy for a fucking new show. That's pretty wild.
That's insane.
So there's a lot of interesting stats that I was poking through that I'll share at another point once we're more solidified. For those of you who are patrons, and by the way, if you hear any banging, there's a lot of construction work going on in this building, so apologies for that. But for those of you who are patrons, we just dropped Defining Duke Ultimate episode 15. It's a Starfield leak investigation. I invited fellow Bethesda YouTuber Juicehead onto the show. I've worked with Juicehead a lot in the past. We've done videos together, podcasts together. We've hung out at events together, so he's a friend of mine. And a lot of people are probably familiar with him, but they're familiar with Bethesda content. I invited him on to break down the latest of Starfield leaks. A lot of that we'll be going into here, but this was a 1 hour in-depth dive into everything Starfield since probably September, and it was a lot of fun. So if you're into Starfield and you're not rather into it, but you're interested in it, go ahead and give that a listen. Other than that, just a big thank you to all of you who are vocally supporting us, pushing our show, helping it reach new heights. I personally don't have much to promote other than please check out my content as we're moving into Mass Effect, which is by the time the embargo lifts, this show, or the embargo list before this show actually goes live to even patrons, so we could talk about it. But yeah, I'm playing. Yeah, right. So
yeah, we could.
I'm playing that right now, and I'm enjoying it. I've played a lot of Mass Effect 1 and dabbled a bit with Mass Effect 2 and 3. Do you have your code?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Do you feel, have you been enjoying it? Because for me, Mass Effect 1 still, it's interesting. It feels better, but it still feels old.
Well, I'm not as bothered by that. So it does,
yeah, I shouldn't say I'm
improved,
bothered, but it does feel.
But yeah, it's sort of a different style of game than 2 and 3, really. I mean, it
really
was more RPG than shooter, and then they sort of merged them all. The only thing, so that they said that they looked at mods to decide what level to go with this.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around facial mods in particular, because when you first start up and Anderson is talking and his lips are like, they're just, things are just old. That for sure looks old. And by 3, it elevated, which is you sort of get that. That's another reason why 1 might even feel older, because they didn't go and adjust even backwards to 1 what they did in 3, which I guess we don't have to have, but I was a little surprised. When you're playing 1, you're like, it's not even up to 3's standards when it comes to lip sync and facial stuff. But I mean, they're good games. Oh, by the way, dude, come on. This is like primo BioWare. Their writing in the first 15 minutes of Mass Effect 1 is 10 times better than all the writing in Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm just like playing it and going through you can even interrupt. They even recorded it in so everybody talks in multiple sentences, but if you notice, you can interrupt it by hitting X, and if you do, instead of cutting quickly, they fade down, so it's like a real conversation. So I had a conversation with, in number 1, the doctor, and some dude is there trying to prove himself right when you start the game, and you can interrupt, and it's like people talking in a group. It's like the coolest. It's so much better than their current stuff. Man,
it is, and it's going to be interesting because they did bring up mods, how they field the kind of Bethesda BioWare issue that seems to come up, where like mods do it better, because they, especially when BioWare is like, we used mods to see how far we could go and then go beyond it. And it's like, there's a lot of cut content that got restored in mods that's not in the Legendary Edition. So I'm curious how they're going to handle that, because they're talking about this post-launch support where they're going never say never to the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. And I'm thinking, are they going to add stuff afterwards? So that'll be quite interesting, especially because they adjusted the entire trilogy, where now galactic readiness is tied to your choices throughout 1 and 2 and 3, instead of the multiplayer. So the multiplayer could be a separate app, maybe, was my idea. But overall, as these games, I'm really excited to do my review for it. This is a game I've been covering since, holy shit, man, like beginning February of 2020. I think I made a video just talking about like the tweets that they were posting on their account, and I was saying like, there's something ramping up here, and then someone reached out to me and went like, you're right, like it's happening, it's just a matter of when. And then I think that's when Jeff Grubb went out of his way to be like, yeah, Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered. And so I've just been on this game's back since, to finally get my hands on it. It feels good to play. The Mako, oh my god, that feels so much better. It's because what I realized was, I started floating it around, and I was like, all right, it feels kind of like you're controlling, I don't know, like the Warthog in Halo, analog stick-based controls. But then it's when I started going up the rocks and whatnot, is when I realized that the boosters from the boost from the thrusters, the jumping, like that type of stuff just was infinitely better. I will say, I think Andromeda felt better in that regard, if I recall it correctly. But for what it is, once again, that was the part that I think felt really good with the updates. The combat feels good, but it's the the soft cover that I don't like. In 2 and 3 they allow you to press a button and you enter cover, whereas in Mass Effect 1 you kind of have to have your gun out and then get against cover, and if it's a certain height you have to crouch, and sometimes you don't even press against things. So certain things are cover, certain things aren't, and that's something I have fought a lot with, but otherwise it feels better, and it is very much a RPG compared to the other two, which are still RPGs, but this one's got the most role-playing roots.
I don't know if you've had it long enough. I haven't had it long enough to get a full review by the embargo. Because
definitely
not that you would have to beat all 3. If I know that there's been all this talk about beating games. This is a different situation. But for this one in particular, people need to realize that it's not, if you've been playing with mods, this may not be for you. Like, it may not, because your PC 90 frames per second, maybe 120 versus 60. Like, you may be past this. But for people who haven't played it, they also need to be aware it doesn't look current. So you can't, it's a no-win situation in a weird way. I did notice something, I could be wrong. I felt that the audio was cleaned up. So when Anderson and multiple people talk,
definitely.
I would have to go back to the 360, but I felt that they had gone in and cleaned up that audio just a bit, and that there was a little less that sometimes popped up which as an audio fan is a big deal to me. So, but people need to know what they're getting into with this. It's not a remake, man. No, not a full one at least.
No. Yeah, it's a lot like Nier, where it was like a version upgrade. Like, it's improved in a lot of ways. And the audio is a good point, because they did say that they added new sound effects and stuff, and you can hear that in the weapons for sure. Like, they sound,
and the grenade going off
way better.
Yeah.
It sounds way better. That's a good subtle pickup.
Dude, can you put your gun away in ME1, Maddie?
Yeah, you have to press the back button. Like, you have to press the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird button to have it mapped to. Usually it's like hold X and you holster it or something. So that's what I did inherently. I just held X and I threw a fucking grenade. And I was like,
I threw a grenade in the in the ship. That's how I knew the audio was different. Is in the ship. It's like, what's he say? Like, heads down or whatever he says. And I'm like, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, cool.
The other thing was mapping the abilities, because like unless I'm forgetting this, you could only have like one ability mapped to the right bumper, unless there's another button you can press for a second ability that I'm not recalling, because you'd have to bring up the ability wheel and then you'd hit map.
Yeah.
And so LB was to switch weapons, RB was to use abilities. What's interesting is in future Mass Effect games, it's like LB, RB, or both together, and you have like a wheel of abilities that you can use at once. Where this one's more like use throw. Like, I'm playing as a Vanguard, so it's like use throw, then hold my ability wheel, select warp, now use warp with RB. Like, it's a more tactical, slow approach, kind of like what you've seen in the Dragon Age games, maybe, where you're selecting abilities rather than just like direct action interaction, where it's just like click, click, boom, things happen. I also found myself using squad commands a lot more in Mass Effect 1, which I like a lot. I think it's really good.
I actually love that in Dragon Age. I actually think it's one of the positives in Inquisition. Being able to just be like, go there, do this. It's nice, and I'd like to see more. I'd like to see all squad-based games like have a couple, and we've seen a couple that come out and they don't really have nice things. Did Greedfall? Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Greedfall had something, didn't it? I just don't remember what it had. I don't remember Greedfall's system. You?
For
squads, could you tell them? Was it just a offense,
I think
defense,
it was just a simple, I was going to say, I think it was a simple offense, defense, because every battle that guy said, like, a little poison on my blade and let's go, or whatever. He said the same line every time.
They needed to record a couple more.
Yeah, they probably needed to pay him like $50 extra to get something in there.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But I'll have more thoughts to share on my personal channel for Mass Effect.
Me too.
I'm excited to talk about it more. Please check out Carrick's channel as well. We'll have our own reviews out by the time you're listening to this. Let's get into some warm-up questions. The first one's from Cody Richter, and it's actually kind of in tune with what we're doing right now. Hey, Maddie and Carrick, Between doing Defining Duke, Ham Radio Podcast, and all the content on your own respective channels, how in the hell do you guys find time to play the games you want to play? With both of you also reviewing games a lot, I'm sure there's a lot of things that slip through the cracks. How do you decide what gets played and what falls to the dreaded backlog? Also, just want to give you two a shout out for all of your hard work across all your shows and channels. Keep up the good work. We definitely appreciate the awesome content. Thank you, Cody. So I thought this was a good timely question here because of, us playing Mass Effect, Biomutants coming up. We just had Resident Evil pass us by. So I'll answer first because for me, it's really just like what I've accepted is I don't think there is a huge importance on every single game being reviewed day one. I think some games take more time, like a Mass Effect, where I'm going to do impressions and then a review. Because I want to see the whole thing through and then create a full review. But I do understand the desire for like day one details, like what's changed, how do I feel about the changes initially, does it play well, right? We haven't seen this game running. So in the case of like Mass Effect, I think there's stuff that calls for more long-winded approach. So for me, that makes it a little bit easier because I feel more at ease. I don't feel like I got to push through a game to get to the next one. This is going to be tough because we got to balance. I just recorded and rendered out a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2021 review that'll probably come out next week. Just because I'm focused on Mass Effect stuff right now. But I did that, and then I moved right into Mass Effect, and I got another game coming up that I'm going to review, and I also want to finish Resident Evil because I want to do see if we can do maybe like a spoiler cast review discussion for that here.
If you do that, remind me,
because
I would try to be on that.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love that because I think that'd be a lot of fun. And so really what it is about, I gotta be honest, sometimes I pick games to review. It's a hybrid of like, number one, the most important thing is what do I like? What do I look at and go, oh yes, like, because I know my time's limited. So if something excites me, it's legitimate and I will make time to look at that game, good or bad, or just out of morbid curiosity like with Avengers. But the other thing is content. Like, I think it's exciting to have conversations with people. I just guested on a podcast, as always, and we talked a lot. These guys, James and Tyler, they're really well known for their Assassin's Creed takes and their content on it. And it was just interesting to get that angle and have that conversation as someone who's, I'd say, a fan of Assassin's Creed, but maybe not the hardcore fan.
Right.
And so the conversations and the content is also the exciting angle. And so, yeah, for me, it's really just about the size of these games, the timing of them. Yakuza 7 is like a game that is in that, quote, dreaded backlog. Like, I was like, I gotta skip this. Like, I know that I don't have enough time because I want to review the consoles themselves, which I did, and talk about other games like Demon Souls Remake and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War I talked about. So it's really just about picking and choosing, scheduling wisely across your entire life, and then just letting it rip from there and not backing off your game plan unless you really need to. So for me, it's just, like I said, a lot of balancing, and I thank my editors, Josh and Kopi, who really handle some of the labor on the channel while I play these games or while I take my notes or set up this podcast. It's the way I'm able to do it because, Josh just sent me, like I said, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and so I was able to spend the first 3 hours of my morning writing up this whole script for this show so that we could provide it for you while that was getting done. Otherwise, the video would have never happened. So it's really just that kind of well-oiled machine being in motion constantly that allows me to do all these things and play these games. Because a lot of content creators have just taken their foot off the gas with like the importance of playing games, and it's just like, it's ridiculous to me. I think the reason people respect our opinion and listen to us pretty closely in our individual work is just because we play games. Like, a lot of people they preview games. We play and complete and replay, and there's something really important there that's missing, strangely, from a lot of content. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Did I go on for way too long where I've left you with nothing to say?
No, that's pretty much, well, yeah, but that's good. Because you and I both, I would say, do about 85% of the same stuff. You have editors, I don't. But that's about it. Like, and I've hired somebody to help me with like just general idea and keeping me on task. I've actually had to. I mean, that's what Abzi, who's been on your podcast before when you were sick.
Yeah.
We still need to get him on because he actually talks to me about it. He's like, I would like to get on, you know, yeah. But I've hired him to like, because I'm an idea generator and I'll just do a bunch of shit and then it won't do well or whatever. And I'll continue, you know, he's like, he looks at stuff. He knows some of the tracking a little bit better and he'd be like, maybe, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Other than that, I would say, I mean, I barely sleep. I play a lot of games. I like games. I like talking about games. I do, you know, 2 D&D games a week plus 5 podcasts.
That's the time sink, the D&D.
Yeah. And I just like doing stuff. My personal opinion is I will die. And when I do, I want to make sure I was never like, man, I wish I had done that. Like, I'm always doing stuff. I don't like downtime. And scheduling's a big deal. But I would say I don't ever feel that pressed. There's been a couple times when you and I behind the scenes been like, oh, damn, you know, these 2 games came. And usually what I do is I take days off when I can. I think the big thing is a lot of people do Monday through Friday. A lot of people are against the grind. I just saw a post yesterday where somebody was like, the rise and grind, meaning get up at a certain time, go to work. The rise and grind mentality needs to go away. And I'm like, nah, not at all. In fact, I hope people think that because I'll outwork them. Let them think that. Like, while they're thinking that, I will work on a Saturday if I get a game on a Saturday, and I will also take a Saturday off if I don't have one. I will take a Tuesday off if I don't have one, but I will work Tuesday if I get a game. And I think I know a lot of people who aren't like that, and I think that can impact them because I can work at any, you know, I'm just like, this is sort of the job. It's almost like an on-call all the time, and I get some great time off, too. Like, that's another thing I don't think people understand. If there's nothing going on, there's a small mini game, you know, that I may want to review or do something, that's great on the side. But then there's also like a Tuesday, Wednesday where I don't shower, fucking feet up, watching Supernatural, doing nothing, you know, just like this is. And that's a huge positive because you can take those days off sort of when you want and when you need. So
yeah, what I've realized is for me, my days off have just become low key work days. So I gotta fucking fix that because like
that is one thing I've stopped doing. Yeah,
right. Like just the pull the plug. I've really failed at that entirely. Just because what'll happen is I'll have content scheduled. Like when I was doing my 2.0 launch, like I'll have stuff ready and I'll be working on other stuff or like sending a couple files. Like it'll be 2 hours or something, but it's like that's 2 hours is valuable. That's 2 hours you could have put into a game, or 2 hours like I could have gone on a walk, taken a shower,
or
done
seen
whatever
your
I
dog.
want.
Like I have a guilt. So like I'll be talking, I'll look down, and one of my dogs has a tendency to stare at me, and I'll look at him and I'll be like, whoa, I have not, like I woke up and it was all this screen. There wasn't like any
it's easy
outside
to catch yourself,
time.
Yeah.
It's easy, yeah, and I think that's one of the things. But I don't think that's too different from other people. I don't know what they do or what they like. We also can do whatever we want. A lot of people are like held down to like IGN. I'm sure those guys have to review certain things. They have editors, all that. I don't know if you have an editor per se. You may have somebody who says, hey, here's a mistake. I don't know if you have, but I don't have anybody looking.
I should specify. Yeah, just video editor.
Yeah, but not a like somebody going, you need to use this word 10 times right?
No.
In fact, you and I just inside baseball, I won't say how, but you and I have talked, we chafe a little bit. If somebody does come and say, you need to do this, and we felt we've done it, we'll be like, I'm chafing at this content. Like, I don't think either one of us would probably do well in that kind of situation. And I worked at a job with a bunch of editors. They were all doctorates, man. And that was some rough shit. When you'd be like, and you'd go, dude, you got the idea. You understood, obviously, what I was saying because you corrected, like, the grammar or you corrected some word, but you knew what I was saying. So why are we wasting time? You know, I feel for, like, a Ryan McCafferty. Like, that having somebody over the top of you who may edit your stuff. Such a brain killer, man.
I've got a friend who we had on Defining Duke Ultimate who does, like, journalist work, and he like I've seen like his original work versus what gets edited in, and it's just like sometimes it's just completely separate from what the fuck his actual article was, and I'm just like, jeez, that just like that's gotta be so frustrating because sometimes these editors will toss in something that gets these journalists dragged, and it's like
exactly
like,
no
journalist
exactly.
sucks, and it's like It's not even the journalist who wrote it.
And that's the thing. I have no issue being hated for what I say or what I do. But if it is something else, then I do chafe. Like, I'm like, dude, that was not.
It's not
I've done it in reviews where I've stated, this is what the dev told me. And somebody be like, you said that. And I'm like, no. Go back and watch the video. You know, because it's so they're a godsend, man. Thank God we have people who can do that, because they put out awesome stuff. But I could not. I would die. There's no way I could handle that.
Number 2, Adam Stump. Guten Tags, amigos. Yes, Wendy's burgers are bomb. I think it's because they are using fresh, never frozen beef. But the bigger question is, do you dip French fries in your Frosty like a normal person, or are you one of those weirdos that eats them separately? These are important questions. Loving the show. Keep up the great work. This zeitgeist of dipping fries into ice cream, I don't get it. I've tried it. I remember when I was in high school, this girl was like, you got to give this a shot. So we went out together. We grabbed some Frosties. We grabbed some fries. I dipped it, and I'm just like, this just tastes like potato with fucking
ice cream
dairy.
around it?
And I'm like, that's disgusting. You know, there's nothing appealing about this. It's weird to me. I understand why people like it, because there's just that sometimes when two tastes fight against each other, it tastes good. It's like, it doesn't make sense, but you're not going to argue it. Kind of like ketchup and ranch dressing. It's like, oh, this mixes together and just tastes really good for some folks. But for me, like, I'd rather dip my French fries in ketchup. Because I can eat French fries plain. Like, I feel like the French fry can serve as this conduit to dips, if you will, condiments. But it's good enough to be on its own, especially if it's crispy. So I guess I'm a weirdo that eats them separately. That's where I fall.
I couldn't even tell you what I normally do, because I just eat the fucking food. I don't get that into it. I think I haven't dipped in a while. Sometimes I will, but I like my Frosties. So I think I like taste for taste's sake when I do get a Frosty. So I want to eat the Frosty. I don't want to dip a fry in it. I will. I'm not against it, but I like Frosties. I like their taste. I like ice cream overall.
What happens when you drink the Frosty afterwards? Now you've got the
crispy
remains, the fucking
remains.
potato carcass lying in the fucking in your ice cream. Now it's like, it's disgusting.
I mean, like, I'm just not into, talking grub as much as everybody else, but I will say that if I had an argument, it would be more about fries than it would be about hamburgers, strangely enough. As in what fries I like. I'm if they're like, I've had a bad hamburger where I'm like, that's just a bad hamburger, but it's I have noticed if they're bad fries, I do notice that soggy.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever, where you go in, and because I can't make home fries. I know some people are really good. I'm also a firm believer. I don't like home based stuff almost ever. Somebody be like, home Spanish food. Nope. Hate it. Home. I'm like, nah, just give me processed, whatever. I don't know why. It's probably MSG. Yeah. But like, somebody will be like, and I barbecue all the time. But I would pass up my own barbecue in an instant to eat like a Wendy's burger. I'm just not that kind of person. But
wow.
Yeah. For sure,
wow.
Dude. And I barbecue that's good. Like friends in my Discord are real life friends, and are like, it's the best barbecue I've ever had. And I'm like, dude, I would flip that thing over in a second if somebody brought me a triple baconator. But the fries, I notice. Yeah, fries. Bad fries are like when you get them old or something, or not old, but like when they're not fresh,
soggy. They're not. Yeah.
You get the, you can like, I don't even mind. Yeah. There's something about them you can feel. And that would probably bother me more than a bad burger, I think. I mean, just in the long run.
For me, it's hot dogs. When you can get a really awesome hot dog, but like the bun can fuck it up. Or I remember I went to MSG to Madison Square Garden, by the way. I
was just gonna say, what is that? What?
Yeah, I went to the thing that opens your taste buds, and
I was like, wow, just dive into the powder. Anyway,
I went to MSG to see a Rangers game, and I'm sitting there in between periods, and my brother brought me a hot dog because he went to the bathroom. And I was like, "Could you get me food?" So he brings me back a hot dog, and I'm chewing this thing. This has never happened with food before. And by the way, little gross story here, but still, like it's my moment where hot dogs change. So I bite it, chew it, and I swallow. Nothing tasted weird or off about it, but my body rejected it. So up comes this food now, and I'm sitting there like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Like, I didn't throw up. Like, I just have this food in my mouth now. It's disgusting. And since then, just your face says it all. And so since then, I'm just like, I don't think I like hot dogs as much. Like, I'm terrified to eat them. That was such a weird, foreign experience.
Gotcha.
That now I'm very particular about them. Like Dustin Furman, executive producer of Last Stand Media, co-host on Ham Radio. He told me about spiral cutting. There's a term for it, your hot dogs. That has been major in my hot dog recovery. Now I like them a lot more. So I want to shout out Dustin for, putting me on that, because that was really good. Like, I've enjoyed them since because they're a little more crispy. It gets rid of that oily flavor. I don't know what it is.
Wet sack bite that you have when you bite into a hot dog. Now, a lot of people like those. They love that, in fact, but I do slice hot dogs when I'm cooking them. So
Yeah, that's the play. If you don't do it, ladies and gentlemen, please do it. It's actually a game changer. As someone who has upchucked a hot dog. All right, number 3, Steve Summingoot. Hey, Carrick and Maddie, did you find Resident Evil Village scary? Do all Resident Evil games have to be scary to be successful? And would Resident Evil 8 be a better game if it were scary? I've played a couple of hours of Resident Evil Village on Series X, and I haven't read or watched any of the reviews. One of the first things I noticed is that compared to Resident Evil 7, it wasn't scary at all. Whereas Resident Evil 7, I felt alone, helpless, and hesitant to explore the house. In Resident Evil 8, I'm eagerly trudging through the snow, curious to see what happens next. I think one of the reasons for this is that the game doesn't really give you time to dwell on a feeling of helplessness. Almost immediately, you're equipped with a gun, and soon after, a lot of money to buy bullets. Another reason, too, is that you have more people to talk to from the get-go. It's been nice to take a moment and hang out with the Duke. Also, how scary can a game be if you're held captive by 3 sisters and their 9-foot mom? Wouldn't the game be better if that scene was much longer? So, yeah, I thought this was actually a good opportunity. I love these questions that we're getting because they're kind of relevant to games we're playing, and we want to, of course, incorporate more of our impressions and stuff into this show, so it's not just random questions. So I said this last week, please continue to be like very topical with your questions, because it makes it, I think, a lot more of a interesting show for everyone. But with this, did you find this game scary? I'm 4 hours in, so I can't say for the whole experience, but I know you've completed and done a review, but did you find it scary? Because I haven't. I'm an easy target. I'm an easy target, man.
I posted and I said, not only is the game not scary at all, that does not stop me from thinking it's one of the best endings in an RE game ever.
Nice.
Ever.
That's good to hear.
And they do not need to be tied together. Do I think it'd be better if it was scary? For me personally, probably. But I got to tell you, man, I didn't love the game. I gave it a wait because I felt like it's pretty short. I felt it was, I saw people doubling their time in it, but I took my time. Hardcore wasn't that hard. I think he's right about one thing, and I mentioned this in my review. The game does something which I've really not seen other than 7, and I think 7 handled it differently because it ultimately changed the characters you see into different characters, which then caused them to be scary. What happens in Resident Evil 8 is there's a scene right at the starting where it's like a menagerie where you're just introduced to every single character you're going to see. I don't remember a game ever doing that. And it removed all mystery from the game. I'm like, boom, boom, boom. They're all right there. And then, yes, he is right. You get a gun, even in hardcore, they're more aggressive. I think their AI is a little bit better in hardcore, and bullets are harder to find, but I didn't find anything about this. It's like baby's first scary game. That's sort of the way I came. And it sounds derogatory, but that's the easiest way I can describe it. That is truly how I felt this game. It wasn't as scary as some action games I've played where there's a scary moment even. But I don't care because, dude, that ending, it did something for me that I've bitched about since 7, which is where I was confused where 7 and 8 were going to fit in the overall scheme of things. And I walked away from this game and I went, gotcha. And to me, well worth it. Like, even if you watch it, by the way, even if you're listening to me and you're like, I'm not going to play it. And like Absy, he's like, I just decided to watch it because I don't have the money, blah, blah, blah. And he came back and he's like, I get what you're saying. Like, nice. So that's my opinion. Not scary at all.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. I'm 4 hours in. I'm just leaving the castle for context. And so I know there's like one part in this game that has been reportedly scary. But
Yeah.
I haven't even had that moment of like, I felt, because you mentioned action moments that were scary. Like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 Remake was scary, but not in the traditional way, I would say. He was chasing you. You could hear his footsteps. And so was that quick thinking,
Tense.
that process of like, navigating the world and being like, okay, I got to get here, but this guy's right on my ass, so I need to lose him. Like, how do I do that? And it breeds this almost familiarity with the world because now you got to learn it because someone's right on your ass. So there was a different type of scary there that I really liked. And I love that game more and more as time goes on. I don't think I gave it enough appreciation when I first played it. I really don't think I did. Where Village is a good game. Village is goofier, though. That's the best way to put it. It really is just a goofier game. I think Resident Evil 7 was more grounded. It was more serious. And a lot of fans didn't like that because when you look at Resident Evil 5, like you have Chris Redfield fucking punching a boulder as a way to like create a path for him and Sheva to like walk across a volcano. Like you got ridiculous stuff like that. Resident Evil 4 is like this mixture of weird and grounded. You know, you've got the upgrade store there. So for me, at first when I started Village, the first hour I was like, I don't like this. And I'm not quick on the draw like that. I give games time, where I know a lot of people say you can't do that. I like to, because I think sometimes there's a warm up or things look better in hindsight. You understand why certain things were delivered the way they were. So at first when I was playing Village, I was like, I really don't like this. I don't like the feeling, the atmosphere. It just feels way too bright. Like it just is not scary. It's not tense even. It's just a Resident Evil game. But as I got to the upgrades and I got in the castle and it started to feel a little more Resident Evil, that's when I started to feel more at home with the puzzles. But I do have to say right now, I like Resident Evil 7 more. Even if Resident Evil 8 is considered by many fans more of a traditional Resident Evil game, something about 7 just really is well designed, and it is scary. And it got me a number of times in my 3 playthroughs. Like I don't know. I have to finish Village, so I don't want to call it too soon. But I don't know if I will. I don't know if I will have such an affection for this game as I did with 7, but we'll see, because I love a good ending, so if the ending's as great as you say, that might be some of the juice for me too, to really
I want to make sure
the
that's
top.
Clear.
Yeah, of course, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
like I like the universe.
action-wise.
I'm interested.
Yeah. I can't remember if you and I talked about
how it
that.
starts.
Have you and I talked about 7 and 8 feeling different than 1, 2, 3, 4? I think we have, right? Because I know I talk about it all the time on my podcast. I just don't know if you and I have discussed how different 7 felt. And because I've stated 7,
yes,
the rumor is 7 was not a Resident Evil, which
it definitely was. They just added the ending.
Yeah. Well, dude, I don't want to spoil it, but it was one of those times where I was like, oh, thank God I played this. And this is why quitting a game is a bad idea. You know, I get it. I get why people would just walk away from a game, because I felt the same way you did. That first hour, I'm like, dude, I'm walking through the snow. Nothing's happening. They show like a guy on all fours running past me, and then you're attacked by Saint Nicholas on crank with a warhammer, and I'm sitting there going like, nothing. This is just dumb. Like, I don't get, like, it's not that
I agree
good.
So much.
And then it does. It gets better. I will say this, Resident Evil developers, if you're listening, it's time, man. Move on from the old shitty puzzles. I'm done. I'm done with every puzzle needing a fucking abacus, a stone from 1942, and a magic spell to get through a door that, by the way, in Village, there's multiple doors you open where a bad guy's inside who couldn't have got in there. And you're like, we're done. We're past this point. We need to make the environment. You said he punched through a boulder. Well, in a weird way, that's at least connected to the world. We're getting
you can say, oh, this is crazy enough. It makes sense. Almost like I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Because, dude, there's one spot where it took like 50, and you automatically know if a door's locked, run the opposite way. We all know that. That's Resident Evil. Run the other way. It'll be on the other side of the fucking house. Like, you just know that's how you get through. And then I got through, and there's a guy in there. And I'm like, but I was fucking knocking. Like, what is happening? It's so ancient feeling in its tropes for puzzles. I want to see a lot of horror games get rid of that. I think Alan Wake did an okay job. Evil Within 2 did an okay job as well.
I saw a lot of people suggesting Evil Within after
I saw that
Resident
too.
Evil, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Number 4, Mitchell Ray writes in, hey fellas, I keep hearing the argument that Halo Infinite must be great or it will be a disaster for Xbox. With all of Microsoft's first-party studios, I am having a hard time buying that argument. Sure, it will be disappointing, but Xbox now has more potential than it has ever had with all the IP they own. What do you think happens if Halo Infinite launches and it's just merely good or okay? I see this one a lot, like that it's the importance of nailing a flagship IP, which I agree with, but there's also this emphasis that if they fuck up, that's it. And I'm very conflicted on it because I know for a fact I've said in the past, like, it's important they get this right. They should treat like Nintendo with Mario. I think you used an example one time. Like, I think it's important for them to nail the most identifiable IP underneath their banner. But I don't know if it's the most important now. I really do believe, and people can call me crazy, I do believe Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be that. I really do. If they make that exclusive, that's going to be what matters. That's going to be the thing that they need to nail, because that is going to be, I would anticipate, this kind of revolutionary open world approach. Because Bethesda Game Studios, of all companies, was like, we're waiting for technology to get this one right. They never fucking do that. They are not a tech company at all. Look at any of their games. I guarantee even Starfield you'll look at and it'll be familiar, which isn't a good thing, by the way. But point being is, you know, I just feel like Halo is super important, but I don't know if it's like the guy anymore, right? There's a new one in town. I think there's a heritage importance, but I don't know if there is I don't know if it's like you need to nail this or else all of Xbox trust is gone. But course correct me if I'm wrong. What do you think?
No, I would agree. I think that they have Gears and they have Forza and they have their own stable of games. And I get that people want to pretend those don't exist, but that's a world I don't engage in. There's multiple different titles that they have. I like Halo more than Gears, but a lot of people like Gears more than Halo. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I don't even know about popularity right now when it comes to those two, but I would say it's, you know, Halo was the old zeitgeist, but man, there's something going on. Gears is, I mean, even just them saying they're moving to Gear, you know, to the next gen Unreal Engine and stuff, people were freaking out about Gears. So yeah, it's important, but it won't ruin the world. It'll just affect their sales in some way. Like, it won't be a system seller, but it won't be a system killer if it's bad either.
Definitely not. Especially, that's why I think they want to. We'll talk about Starfield. We're going to talk about Halo. We're actually going to talk about Gears as well. So all of these are relevant to our news.
Oh, and you're right about those. But others.
I was going to say, I feel like that's why they want Starfield, is like, you want to get that out because it does alleviate pressure. If Halo is okay, or if Halo has trouble, you have this other thing on Game Pass or Xbox or PC that you can look at and go, hey, we got this. You know, we can go play this. Go check this out. Like, it's just that, I don't know how else to say it. It can be the beneficial alternative option. And I think that's important to have. But yeah, let's get into number 5 because we have a ton of news. Hey, hot tub streamer Carrick and Titty Gobbler 2.0,
Yeah.
Maddie. That's Maddie 2.0, Nick. Do you guys have any predictions for which currently announced 2021 third-party release will end up on Game Pass? I think the Judgment sequel is a likely candidate in the fall. Do you think we'll see anything in the summer? Cheers, Nick. Great question. Because it's been since, I'm acting like it's been a while, but it's been since MLB The Show that we've gotten a big announcement for Game Pass. They were sort of on a roll with that. I think what's happening is, my guess is maybe they're saving something for E3. I could be incorrect on that. That's just my guess, though, that they're saving big Game Pass announcements and studio-based announcements for then. Because I do think they want to hit hard this year. I really do. We'll see if they actually end up doing that. As for predictions, my one for fall is Tales of Arise. I think that is a pretty... I feel like that is one that makes a lot of sense in a number of ways. I know that this was one that seemed to be the big one, so it could also just go against what I'm suggesting here. Like, they seem to be going a little more budget friendly with this title compared to other Tales games. So maybe they're like, you know, let's see if we can get like a big multi-plat success without Game Pass. But I just feel like they're going to get a JRPG, because if it's not that, then it's Scarlet Nexus, because that was revealed last year at the Xbox, I put this in quotes, gameplay showcase, which wasn't gameplay. Now they're getting, they announced something for Xbox with Scarlet Nexus recently. They dropped 13 minutes of gameplay. I want to say it might have been a trial or a demo. I'll have to double check that. But there is a partnership brewing there a little bit, where I feel like Scarlet Nexus would be a big beneficiary of Game Pass, because that game looks great. It's from the team of Tales of Vesperia, but that's getting no attention. None at all. I don't think Judgment sequel needs it. Sega's doing really well with their IP. Yakuza's doing really well. They're going more global. I don't think they're going to do Judgment, but what do you think of some of those predictions there? I'm going to look up what happened with Scarlet Nexus in the meantime.
I think Microsoft and Sega will probably do Judgment 2. Probably. As for this Crimson Desert thing, or Scarlet Desert, I don't follow it close enough to know. Sorry.
Scarlet Nexus.
There's Scarlet Nexus. Well, there's Black Desert, there's Scarlet Nexus, and then there's Crimson Desert.
Oh,
which
yes,
is
there is.
right?
That one looked like...
So that's the one
yeah.
that looks like Dragon's Dogma. I actually believe they'll go with Xbox. We can call that now. How early are we? That's like next year, I think. But for some reason, I feel that that's a game that Microsoft would look at it and go like, hey, let's do that on Game Pass. That'll be next year. This year, yeah, I think Judgment probably. I mean, just because
nice.
It seems like Microsoft and Sega, like, they don't necessarily need to. It just feels like they could, and it would just help Sega even more. And Sega's the one who's now done like 3 announcements about how happy they are with Game Pass. Which... Yes, they could say, okay, we did it, we had success, we don't need it anymore. But for whatever reason, I just don't see. I firmly see them instead going, let's entrench and see how well we can do with this surprise one. I was surprised by Judgment too, by the way. Like, it's nice to be surprised. That was out of the blue. Like, that was just like, I wasn't even thinking about it or talking about it. Was hoping for it because I think Judgments might be my favorite of the Yakuza series. And to get a second one, I'm excited. Yeah,
I'm really excited to play that this summer, man. I'm gonna catch up on it this summer. That's like one of my must hits. Like, I want to play the Halo series for Infinite. But I wanted to get back into Final Fantasy 14, but I may sacrifice that for Judgment because I've been hearing some amazing things. And what I saw of the Judgment sequel, like, it looks so cool. So
yeah.
I'm
really excited for them, man. I'm excited for like all of those doing well. Sega, I don't know. I'm excited for Sega doing well, but I'm an old Sega fan. Like, whenever I hear about them,
we got
doing
them
well,
in the news too, man. I mean, there's a lot of news this week. It's exciting. So hey, let's get started. Let's do it with the Coalition. Number 1. The Coalition has been leading the charge on Gears since 2016, and this last week they made some major announcements. As a commitment to having Gears of War being the front runner, we'll say, of Unreal Engine development, the team has confirmed they are developing on Unreal Engine 5 for multiple new projects in the coming years. With the shift so large, they also warned fans that they will not be announcing any new projects or titles for some time, meaning that E3 2021 expectations should be cleanly wiped away. Gears 5 still has content on the way and will release operations through Operations 7 and 8, which includes new characters, maps, and special events. These updates are planned until the end of the year. Separately, this is important because it's a part of a conversation we broke back in April. The Coalition community manager TC Kilo took to Reddit to address the rumors of this new project potentially being a Star Wars game. Quote, "Just to clarify regarding the Star Wars thing, we are not working on any such title. We have nothing else to announce at this time," end quote. So I was the one who floated out that Microsoft Game Studios is in talks with Lucasfilm Games. And then I know I did not specify what the IP was. I did not specify who. I know Jeff Grubb on his show said he heard rumors of the Coalition doing a Star Wars game. He said he could not confirm that. I should clarify that just so people don't run at him, because then this came out from this Reddit post and people were like running at Jeff Grubb saying like, what the hell, man? You said this was happening. He didn't say it's happening. Now, I was surprised because I've heard who it is. I was surprised he kind of stuck his neck out and said that this was a rumor in the first place because it wasn't really floating around anywhere. But yeah, so I just want to make it clear that it's, as the Coalition has said, it was never them to begin with this Lucasfilm game. But I saw a lot of people with a cool idea. They were saying like the Coalition should make like a Republic Commando sequel or a spiritual successor. That'd be awesome because they do a lot of squad based stuff. But yeah, that was just a little thing I wanted to tack on there. The more important part of the discussion is, of course, Unreal Engine 5. So Jeremy writes in, hey, Duke boys, it's been reported that the Coalition is making the switch to Unreal Engine 5 and staffing up. If they are indeed working on 2 games, what kind of game would you want to see from them? Have an entirely average week. Thank you, Jeremy. We hope that you have a pretty mundane one as well. So, all right, here we go. We got a lot of projects coming from the Coalition. I really liked Gears 5. At least the first half of it I thought was exquisite. We know that, they mentioned this on their post. Since the start of Gears of War, it's all been really about Unreal Engine, and it's just been a front runner for that engine. And so, what do you make of them going to 5 and kind of pushing things back? And clearly, this means they're making next-gen only games now.
Does it mean that?
Why wouldn't it?
Well, because the new Unreal is not a platform agnostic, or it is platform agnostic. It has nothing to do with last and next gen.
Do you think by the time that their games are coming out, you think they'll be cross-gen? You don't think they're using this tech to push
to
next
move
gen
into
stuff?
next gen? No. No.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I do feel that Coalition's one of the companies that if they did make a game or come up with an idea that was next gen only specified like a Ratchet and Clank, they could certainly jump into it. But no, there's no particular reason why they can't do a last gen and a next gen on Unreal. That's Unreal's not really like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't see Unreal being used for mobile games, which it's used all the time. So that could certainly happen. I do think that Coalition, if they came up with something, if they came up with an idea that, like, NVMe use and all that stuff, they make the switch, But especially when you now consider the Xbox X as being last gen, it's still ultra powerful. Mm-hmm. PlayStation 4 Pro is ultra powerful. I don't know if they want to give that up. Speaking of all this combined, Battlefield, they stated the same thing yesterday, and that pissed a bunch of people off.
Yeah,
Battlefield is going to be.
But that's this year. Apparently, Battlefield's coming this year. I anticipate
it should be.
Gears will be at least 2 more years out. That's just, by the way, for anyone listening, it's just a prediction.
It's just a matter guess.
It's just a guess.
The other stuff about like what I would want them to work on. So I floated Obsidian doing Deus Ex, the sequel to Deus Ex, but I would say Coalition doing a Deus Ex would be awesome. I'm in a Deus Ex kick.
I guess so.
Yeah. And I feel that Square has sort of walked away from it, and I would love to see a continuation of that, because Cyberpunk left me high and dry. And I think I'm doing Deus Ex right now, Mankind Divided. I played about 5 hours last night, and it's more Cyberpunk in the first hour than Cyberpunk is in its entirety. So
I got to get around to that series.
I've
only played
Human
one.
Revolution.
Yeah, Human Revolution. Yep.
Yeah. Then there's also the Ghost one that was in the Xbox and Xbox 360. But yeah, good games. So that's what I'd like to see them work on. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know where the IP is for Deus Ex or if anybody cares. But dude, I'm playing it. Jensen's out there talking, and I'm like, this guy's a better character than anybody I saw in Cyberpunk in the entirety. Like, it's just so much better. And I want a good Cyberpunk game.
Yeah. One thing worth noting is that Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory, as well as inXile's next project, will be using the Unreal Engine 5, I believe. Or I'm sorry, I don't know if actually Hellblade 2 is using it.
I think Hellblade was upgraded, wasn't it?
Yes, I'll have to double check that. But I know inXile is using Unreal Engine 5. So a lot of Microsoft Game Studios moving over to that engine now for their next projects. I think they're shifting to next gen development now. I think like I can't imagine like Wasteland 3, like or rather I should say I could imagine Wasteland 3 being kind of like the last cross gen thing for inXile before they do their like big heavy hitting IP, which I've heard some really cool things about. I think I just don't understand why they would try to hang back. I think by the time, I don't know how you could look at Ratchet and say like, okay, we should just hang back. Like I would try to swing big, but that is just me.
But Ratchet only uses one next gen thing in the entire game. which is the
SSD.
NVMe and the teleport. So Microsoft seems like they're even more needing to stick with current gen because number one, they believe that that's their ecosystem. Number two, they're not selling as well as PlayStation. So might as well grab your old. Yeah, but not as well as I was thinking. Did you see those numbers where they were showing yesterday? It was like
I know they
last
said
couple
to
days.
The Verge that
surprised.
they were like saying, yeah, we sell consoles at a loss, but we make a profit at.
That too.
Yeah, I saw that. Like them just going like, hey, we make money, by the way, which. I think everyone kind of assumed when they saw their earnings report, but some people actually don't think that. So that much is out there. What numbers are you referring to, though?
I was referring to where they were showing PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox sales numbers for the month, and Xbox was below both of them by about 3/4. And I was sort of surprised by that number just because, Game Pass and because Sony says that they're supply constrained. Microsoft obviously would be as well. And so my idea is more along the lines of that when they can make a game, remembering that PC are also not next gen. Most PC titles will actually be built on last gen tech. I just see as Microsoft trying to get more of whatever available platform they have. Again, Ratchet & Clank is something different. Any game that one of these devs makes that says, let's make absolute use of the NVMe, which is for sure what Ratchet & Clank does, I don't see Coalition saying, let's make it last gen. But if they make a game and they're like, do we have some clickish thing that makes us have to just be next gen? I just don't see them saying we absolutely have to do it. We'll see. But I think each one is going to be allowed to do what they want. Each company within Microsoft is probably, or each dev, is probably going to be allowed to choose, what they want to make. I didn't know that there was even another Wasteland thing or whatever you were talking about from inXile or their new. It
was on a job listing, so people can go poke around at it. It's floating around. I think it was like a steampunk thing. It looked it's going to be like a big AAA IP that is on Unreal Engine 5. So you can kind of already assume, I would imagine, that they're not going to be making some isometric kind of game. At least that's not what I'm expecting.
What if they do, they went sort of against Fallout, like with Wasteland. What if they go against Cyberpunk with their own version of Cyberpunk in ISO? I don't know. I'd sort of be okay with that.
There's a AAA first-person RPG. Okay, so that is out there.
Well, they say first-person, so it's not even isometric for sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure before I said anything because I didn't want to accidentally slip on anything. Yeah, this was actually put out on a job listing. inXile is looking for an art director to help work on their ambitious first-person AAA RPG running on Unreal Engine 5 to help the team transform that direction into mind-blowing game visuals. So yeah, it's going to be a game that's not recognizable from inXile, and that's really, really fucking exciting. Curious to see what they do with next-gen stuff, but My bets are on all next gen, but we'll see. One of us will be wrong at the end of this. Number 2, Halo Infinite has had quite a week. First, the good news, and only the good news. It looks like a new trailer is underway. Project lead Joseph Staten posted to his Twitter account a summary of his week consisting of many sequences which look to be edited for an upcoming trailer. It's safe to say that this was an expectation that the game would be re-revealed at E3, but I imagine this is reassuring for anyone who is concerned. Now the kind of bad news here. It ends good. It ends well, but it starts off shitty. 343 Industries came under fire, unnecessary fire at that, last week when Eric Lynn, a former Skybox artist, had apparently claimed that there was crunch within the studio, and press sites ran wild with a translated forum post that quoted his video uploaded on Bilibili, which is a Chinese video platform. 2 days later, Eric made a follow-up video saying that the swirling news was giving him panic attacks because this misunderstanding made it look like he was slandering his former employee, which he was not. He said he was happy working there and that it would prevent future companies from wanting to work with him, viewing him as a potential liability. The intent of the original video was to inspire young artists to chase their dreams in game development, and he highlighted his positive experience with the company. Eric also emphasized that his one experience, good or bad, should not be used to judge a studio as big as 343 Industries. In conclusion, he highlighted that these videos and articles were made for clicks. Nobody ever reached out to him for context on the situation, and even when he extended the hand to provide more information, no one got back to him, thus leading to this video being created. John Garlett wrote in, "Greetings, degenerates. Is games media ever going to grow up and be taken seriously? Recently, news started circulating around a former 343 employee and his comments surrounding Halo Infinite, the work culture of the studio, and his own experiences. He put out an update after outlets picked this up, and influencers ran away with many perceived negative remarks about him. One of the things which stuck out to me was how he commented that none of the media outlets which covered the story attempted to reach out to him, and when he reached out to try to correct or explain his comments, they never responded back. It feels like the games media is always trying to be a club which tries to push a narrative the way they want to tell rather than the real stories, and I don't know if this is ever going to be fixed. I know this isn't isolated to the gaming industry, but it's still disappointing nonetheless. Have an absolutely terrible week, so much that Mass Effect coming out will bring you no joy." That is grim. Okay. That is a mouthful. So yeah, Halo Infinite trailer. It's hanging around. It's likely happening at E3. I imagine most of our conversation is going to be on Eric Lynn and what transpired here, but of course I don't want to decide that. Carrick, do you have any thoughts?
Do we know what he originally said? Did he say that they worked under crunch? Because if he did, then sorry, you said that.
No.
In your video.
He said, I will bring up his exact comments and I will read them. Feel free to continue talking. Let me grab them real quickly.
So I don't know if it was in Chinese. Is that what they're saying? Is that
Mandarin?
Okay, so it was translated in Mandarin, Chinese.
Reset era.
Reset or translated, and you never quite know like how translations go, especially as somebody who is married to a Chinese woman. I can tell you that even she has difficulty at times translating stuff. She's not full native, but it can be very difficult translating. So we don't know what was actually said. I think it's bad that somebody says they reached out and they didn't get heads up. I will say that I don't know who they reached out to and how they did so, because I've had people reach out to me and I just haven't seen it. So I don't know exactly who he reached out to or anything, but seems to be much ado about nothing for me personally. Like somebody made a video.
Mm-hmm. I have some of the quotes here.
Go for it. This is from the original video, correct?
Yes, this is from the original post. This is Windows Central, who actually reported on this when it came out, and So it says that Lynn's overall feeling on Halo Infinite is that the finished product will still be great, noting that massive improvements have been made to both the story and gameplay. He comments that players shouldn't expect a epoch-making masterpiece. The company's executives were overly ambitious, and that's because of the game's semi-open world features. He said that Lynn also notes that the reason official Halo Infinite gameplay premiere in 2020 was so underwhelming is that many of the features of Halo Infinite's slip space engine were not fully implemented at that time. Here's where it's a little more relevant, and I don't believe this is crunch personally, but we will talk about that and the nature of crunch. Lynn then talked about how some of the concepts and content that were originally part of Halo Infinite had been cut during development. This has led to some this has led to some things I've made over the years that no one will probably ever see, end quote. Lynn also revealed after this that many 343 industry employees, low-level ones in particular, quote, experienced working overtime until the early hours of the morning in the past few years, end quote. I don't know. That doesn't sound like crunch time to me, but because I define crunch time as like this massive, like last minute push overtime. I'm talking overtime in abundance. Like what was happening at CD Projekt Red? Like people were sleeping at their desks. They were sleeping at their desks for weeks. Like they were barely seeing their family. And it was typically at the final push. Like there is a blending to me. There's a blending of when someone I know I've said this before, so I'm going to clarify it one more time. I know for a fact that like me working on content here and playing games and all that stuff has nothing to do with game development, but I do know what it's like to be really passionate about something, particularly we'll say my writing, and be up till like 3-4 in the morning just cranking away on something because I love it, like because I'm passionate about it, because I believe in it, because I want to finish the job, because I don't want to leave the job undone before I turn in for the night. There is that, which a lot of people just don't account for. I know it's an intangible, but it's literally a thing in just all creative people that they will push themselves. And, when it's happening over the number of years, I mean, this doesn't sound like this last minute crunch time to finish the game. But that is also within mind. I will say, in as a devil's advocate to myself, this was during a time period where they were reportedly shooting for 2020 to release it, and that's why they revealed it. So yeah, to me, doesn't sound like it, but curious to see your thoughts on this.
Would say that doesn't sound like typical crunch. That sounds like, it does sound like people working overtime on a project.
Mm-hmm.
And crunch to me a lot of times is, is it required socially, or via the business itself? And I mean socially by like that overarching you should work overtime mentality, the bro mentality.
Yes.
So
good point.
I don't, it's too difficult to read into what he said to imagine which one they are. I will say when he says the reason why this game looked this way is because many of the features, I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, they revealed it.
They fucked up. They revealed it. So that's neither here nor there. I think that all the other stuff he's saying is pretty logical. Don't expect, Epoch, which, by the way, needs to be brought up more. Love that word. Not 100% sure any game people should see that. I would say Ratchet and Clank might be one of the few where we're looking at it going, at least graphically, gameplay wise, probably not, but graphically where you're like, damn son, it's pretty rare, to see those kind of games, but it's hard to know exactly what was said. I think there were so many issues here. The idea of PR not reaching back to him. We know that now. That's sort of known, where if somebody says something and that gets clicks, if there's a correction, you will not get somebody reaching out to you to correct it because that's not going to get as many clicks. We know that. That's journal. And people, I love that people try to pretend journalists or influencers or whatever are all different. No, they're all the same. Even a Newsweek article, if they correct it, it gets 1/100,000th the number of views as the original. My God, look at what's happened. That's because humans work that way. So I don't know if the people were ignoring him or what. We'll probably never know. That's unfortunate.
And I think part of the nature of this not responding and stuff is because of the sensationalism that really pushes the news. Like, we didn't know, right? Like, plausible deniability. We didn't know. We didn't see it. Our inbox was full. And I've never liked how I've done this on my channel a couple of times, where I've made sure that the let's say I cover news or I cover a leak or something like that, or a story, whatever, that if there's a follow-up, you make the follow-up as big of a deal as your original piece. You make it important. Like, you make it where it's this very, because how many times have we seen on Twitter where you'll see like an original tweet, misinformation, completely off base, wrong, and the follow-up tweet below it saying like, hey, I was wrong, has about like a quarter of the retweets, like an eighth of the likes.
Not only that, but the myth of the original tweet will stick around forever.
Exactly.
That will stick around for. It'll be used in forums. I've seen it happen where people will be like, this person, I can't remember exactly. It might have been Ken Levine, but there was some stuff about Ken Levine that was said, and once it was corrected, I'll still see it in a forum somewhere. Somebody be like, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah happened. He'd be like, no, that absolutely did not happen. Even the people who said it happened corrected themselves, and it doesn't matter. It just becomes a myth, like Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked what Eric said, though, because he highlighted that, number one, he was happy working at 343, but that even if his experience is good, it does not represent everyone's. And if it was bad, it does not represent everyone's. And exactly. That's what happens is you'll see like 8 people anonymously come out and say like, this is bad here. And it's like, well, if your studio is, I don't know, 300 people, is that indicative of the entire work environment? These are questions that need to be asked now, I think. I know it sounds cold-hearted. I know some people will take issue with that because they're just like, we should be fighting for the wall. It's like, yeah, but like if it's like 8 people, it's an individual issue. It's not a work-wide issue where everyone is suffering and everyone's being dragged, but no one's spoken up yet. Like, I just think these questions need to start being asked now. When these stories pop up, is like, is this an Eric problem or is this a art direction like an art team problem? Like, these are the things that need to be asked now. People need to dig a little deep, go a little deeper. on these things, and it's up to journalists, because people like you and I, we have some connections, but like when I reach out for a fucking review copy or just a general inquiry, I barely get a response, let alone if I was like, hey, I heard there's crunch going on, do you have a comment? I'm writing an article. Like, I just, like, you know, if we had the ability to do these things, I think a lot of us would, but there's this pick and choose nature of response in the industry and really just in news delivery in general, where I feel like a lot of these journalists, these young journalists, are being conditioned to just pump out the article and just put it out there because they're expecting no response in the first place, or a no comment. Or either that or they're fucking lazy, and it's just a hassle to go track down Eric Lynn and be like, hey, can you clarify your comments here? And because you're going to be lost in the scattershot of articles. I mean, it's so many different things. Like, it comes from all angles, in my opinion. Anything else, or shall we move on to number 3?
No, I agree with all that. There's no disagreement on my part. All that, like, that's the same way I feel.
Let's go. I love when you say that. It's just a nice, like, all right, I really hit a home run. Carrick stamp of approval.
At least for me.
Yeah.
At least for me.
That's the only
Maybe
home run I
everybody
wanna
else
hit.
will be disagreeing with us in the chat, but
we'll see.
At least for us.
We'll see. Let me know. Number 3. Continuing the trend of setting expectations for E3, it looks like Bethesda has suffered a rare leak for Starfield. For the first time since September, we have images to sift through about the elusive new IP. The difference with this leak is it comes from Bethesda's own website, Bethesda.net. Of course, it's not all that simple. Now, I'm excited to see Carrick's face as I break all of this down, man, because this was some fucking detective work. It's going to be hilarious. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It begins with a link posted on Reddit, only to be promptly deleted. This link led to a now removed image titled Starfield Breaker Background Image.png. Internet investigators went to work, and the results may surprise you. For starters, at the front of this link was images.ctfassets.net with a jumble of letters and numbers that we promise is important. RPORU91M20DC. Don't worry, you don't have to remember it. Just know this jumble of letters is important. Heading to Bethesda.net, if you right-click and hit Inspect Element, it will reveal all of the image thumbnails are labeled as breaker images, so there's a commonality there. This suggests that the leak image is for an article that will be posted onto Bethesda.net, suggesting also that this post may be for something imminent. It gets even more peculiar when you take a look at the unedited image. It features a whole watch, which shares HUD similarities to the September gameplay screenshot leaks. There are ships, a starport, moons, code, scribbled descriptions describing what seems to be like a planet. It looks like a piece of concept art. However, the kicker is its 4:3 aspect ratio. When going to the official Starfield game website, inspecting the element reveals that this image matches the aspect ratio of the game's official logo at the heart of the site. Even more neat is that the jumble of letters, once again, RPORU91M20DC, is shared, suggesting that this is the same folder within the CDN, or Content Delivery Network. A CDN is a group of servers that provides the delivery of internet content, such as images, videos, HTML pages, and so on. The plot twist is, after more digging, eager fans have found that original art is actually lingering on some of the social accounts of different artists online. So those ships, that watch, these were all separate sketches from different artists. These posts came from 2013 and 14, which actually lines up with Starfield's pre-production, which is where it had begun. And also, one of the artists used to work at ZeniMax Online Studios. And we know that Bethesda has worked across many of their studios, where such as Tango Gameworks making a enemy for the for Doom Eternal. It's possible Bethesda contracted these artists to bring these ideas for the game to life, but some are understandably wary after Bethesda sold a Praetor coin from an artist to sell on their own store, meme included. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, there's more. There was a survey on Bethesda.net that likely shouldn't have slipped through the cracks. The survey asks, how would you respond to each of the following? And the first entry is, quote, I spend a lot of time creating my character, home, or spaceships. No other Bethesda game currently allows spaceship customization, and settlement building is huge for both Fallout 4 and 76, so this seems to clearly point at Starfield. Whew. What do you think of all that, my friend?
I didn't get to see the pics. Were they cool?
Yeah, do you want me to pop them in chat right now?
Yeah, could you please? I would really be interested in seeing these, because that's I've sort of stayed a tiny bit away from this because I'm
No,
just sort of ready to see the game.
It required a lot of digging, which is like my favorite thing to do. I love when I have a thing like this. All right, so what I'm gonna DM this to you on Twitter. I'm gonna first send you the sketch versus which was by the artist versus part of the leak, and then let's see here. This is the full leak right here, so you can take a look at it for yourself. So I got both of those there in your DMs now. It's concept art. It looks like kind of a development diary thing, like they're going to say maybe after the re-reveal, I shouldn't say re-reveal, but the official reveal, maybe at E3, they'll be like, here's this post about how Starfield began, you know, some behind the scenes things, because this game has been in development since 2016. And it's been in development, pre-production, I should say, for longer than that. Like ideas have been concepted and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to finally start laying my eyes on it. But connecting all these dots, I mean, this reminds me of what happened with the Survivor 2299. It's pretty exciting in one way, because it brought me back when I was putting this all together. But for you, Carrick, as someone who's been on the outside, what do you make of the images you're looking at, and how do you feel about this leak and where it may lead us?
So whenever we talked about this before, I think I sort of got a tiny bit of a Fallout in space mentality, but this is actually much closer to I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, the artist who passed away recently, who made Mass Effect's art, or who inspired Mass Effect's art. The reason why I say it is there's a slickness to a lot of the spaceships. Now, I don't know who's saying this, but somebody's saying it's weird that older artist stuff would be used. That's actually not weird. It's complete. I think it's Skulls. He's completely wrong on that. That's for sure normal. There's nothing weird about using older art in stuff, even in current things, as long as there's some reflection. But I'm looking at this lower left. Give me 1 second. So there's a particular I even own his book, artist that inspired Mass Effect. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but this guy, he passed away. He's Sid Mead. I kept thinking Sid Meier, which I know is a video game creator. So Sid Mead, he died. He basically created the look that you see reflected in Mass Effect. And I find it interesting that those ships look like there are, what they do is they draw, a lot of artists when they do concepts will basically like draw out 3 lines to show like a ship coming towards you, you know, your perspective lines, and then just sort of go nuts. But what's interesting is every one of those has a rounded curvature at the front, versus Firefly, if you've ever seen that show, or Fallout in particular. Fallout's got a crunchy look to it. It's got almost a utilitarian look. This doesn't have a utilitarian look. It's got much more of a starfarer, romantic sci-fi look, which, to be brutally honest, is much more interesting to me than Fallout. But I just thought it'd be Fallout looking. So yeah, no, this is pretty cool. I'm just looking at all of the stuff looks a little bit more future. Does this jive? This doesn't seem to jive graphically at all, though, with that original screenshot that got leaked of the guy on the moon. Graphically,
the one I sent you in the DMs just now.
No, ages ago. The one that we got ages ago that was like a dude standing next to a ship. Like for some reason,
I think that's the one I just sent you another.
Oh yeah, you
picture
just
of
sent
the
me.
September
Yeah,
leak. That one.
So that definitely, there's no. I mean, I guess his spacesuit, like his spacesuit thing looks the same, but like that's no. That's closer than I thought. That's closer than I remember. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Sid Mead. That's all Sid Mead style. The curvature, the like nice smooth lines. Like that's that makes me more excited than. I mean, I would have been okay with the utilitarian look as well, but huh. Yeah,
I thought the HUD lining
cool.
up was the most interesting part, and then you find it on
the
another
HUD
artist profile.
Lining up?
Yeah, if you look at the bottom left corner, there's an O2 meter, there's a gravity meter. It looks like a night and day kind of thing, And then if you look at the watch, you can see a lot of those elements that are on the HUD from the leak screenshot. And what's happening now is it's pretty clear that the leak from that gameplay screenshot, which has been around since September, and what we're seeing here, like I think they both came from the same folder, like the same cloud-based folder. I think it all just floated out online at once, and people are just picking it up. Because what's interesting is the person who posted it just deleted it and immediately at that. And there's an interesting story behind that, of like swapping accounts and whatnot. It's like very strangely hidden after it was posted.
You think they did it on purpose? Like it's a purposeful leak, maybe? Or
yeah,
or you
sounds
saying like from
almost
them?
intentional. Yeah,
Maybe not Bethesda,
is,
but from them.
Yeah, because it sounds like it really does sound like a thing. Because when you put out the link and then you just delete accounts, switch accounts, and all that stuff, like I don't know, it just seems very peculiar. But when it comes to Starfield itself, I just can't help but think what I've been saying for like 3 months now, since February, really January, that, you know, the reveal is more than likely imminent. If Bethesda continues to be the creature of habit they are, early June, we'll likely get some type of teaser, some type of like, you know, now online or whatever, and they'll post something on the account, because it hasn't tweeted in 2 years. It's been since 2019. So I think this is a relevant leak, especially because it looks like, as I said, a development document. A pre-production document that I'm starting to feel like they're preparing to show stuff after the game is revealed to the public. So we will see. But I thought this was really exciting. John Carey asked a pretty cool question here. Hey, Duke dudes, in light of Starfield's leaks this week, I started wondering what it's like to be presented with insider information. I know both of you have mentioned that you know about unannounced games that you aren't able to or willing to share at this time. So I was curious, how do you walk that line? When do you know it's okay? When do you decide to withhold? I'm not looking for any specifics. I was curious for a peek behind the curtain from the people who are more in the know. Thanks for the great show. Defining Duke and Ham have become weekly listens for me, and I'm loving the content. Keep up the good work. Thank you, John. Appreciate those of you who come over to Ham, by the way. It means a lot. Our show's been growing there as well. So yeah, with insider information, I want to make it clear that I don't have like this fountain of knowledge. I have a decent amount, and it's really just for me about like what spoils a reveal. So if I just know something, kind of like what I know about the Lucasfilm stuff happening internally, it's like if I came out and went like, here's what I've heard, and I just dropped the studio's name and what they may be working on, like I think that's fucked up. Like I just don't know how else to put it. Where it's something like Aspire working on a KOTOR remake, that's something where there was a ton of public information on it, plus what I had heard, where it's like this was sort of the like I didn't have to really say I have a source. It's like, hey, by the way, I have a source. I have multiple sources who said this, but if you don't want to believe that, and it doesn't even matter because it's all out here. Look at these job listings. Look at what Embracer Group has said. Look at this. Look at that. It's, you know, so I don't believe in. For me, it's really just like, am I spoiling something? But I also feel information is power. So there's certain things like a spoiled review. That's not like powerful information, but like knowing, hey, here's a Game Pass thing that may be in the works. Here was a deal that was in the works, like what Carrick said about Focus Home and Xbox. It's like, that's powerful information because you kind of get a gauge of where things are at. The email leaks with Phil Spencer, it's like you get a good idea of where things are. And also PlayStation is another one. That's not any information I was given access to by any means. But you look at what Bloomberg posted about their focus on blockbuster titles, and you have a situation there where you can kind of gauge what people feel about this type of stuff. And I think that was relevant information for a consumer to be like, hey, they're not experimenting as much, apparently. We'll see, because now they're kind of doubling down on their PR about exclusives, about how much they've invested, on how many they're doing. I think they said like 25 today, something like that. So they're sort of battling back that narrative over time, PlayStation. But for me, it's really just, am I spoiling something? Am I ruining something? Because you can look at my channel one time and know I like to be excited for games. I am excited for games, and like part of that comes from not knowing everything. So yeah, I don't try to be this just like chatty leaker who's just like is spoiling everything. That's kind of shitty. That's why when E3 comes around, it really sucked when there were Twitter accounts that were just like literally labeling game names. Like there were just Twitter accounts that were just throwing out word vomits of game names of things that were going to be revealed from each conference. It's like, well, why am I even going to watch now? Some people like that. For me, though, I just don't think that's I don't think that's right to take away years of work and just be like, hey, here's the game. You know, it's like that's their moment. But if there's a partnership or something, that's relevant information that you should know about, because you don't know what's going to come out of it or what may not come out of it. We don't know if the Lucasfilm and Xbox thing is going to have a fallout. I highly, highly anticipate it not to, but I'm just saying you never know. So those things I find pretty important to share. But that's how I gauge things. Do you gauge them in a similar manner, Carrick?
So before I go on, I do want to say I'm still looking at the spaceship thing. I'm sure people have already said this, but I just realized it's all boats. It's interesting.
Oh, yeah. It kind of does look like
all
that.
All of the spaceships have moorings. If you notice, all the spaceships on the space station have moorings, every single one of them, which are like a tube for refilling. You'll see on a Navy vessel, or tie downs. But then if you look at the designs, especially lower right hand, it looks like a luxury. It actually looks just like one of the newer, can't remember the term, the brand new Navy stealth vessels they did, but they've all got fins. And you notice the fins on the bottom. It's interesting, and a lot of them don't have thruster locations at all. I see little nacelles,
it's like those
maybe,
tubes in the back.
Yeah, but they're definitely not pronounced. But they're all an aquatic kind of like look to them, which is going to be very interesting to see in space.
Yeah,
I also looked up
like
that 74573 to see if it was like pi or some mathematical theorem. It does have to do with circuits, AI circuits. But I think
someone also brought up it's like a Star Trek thing, which could in. Yeah, it has like a date, I think, and someone said it could be the date for Starfield. But yeah, it's actually
it'd be a long ways forward, but I guess
that's what would make the most sense. But what's interesting is Todd Howard said like it was supposed to be this kind of 50s like space,
exactly
the danger of space. So I wonder, man. That was an Elon Musk conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like the idea. I like the boat look. I like hopefully that's what they go with, of course, because those are older art. But anyway, when it comes to leaks, so I asked the person. I fucked up one time, like I always say with Primal. One person's been right a lot, though. That's the person I listen to for most stuff. I'm a big believer that a lot of stuff is the same person who's talking to multiple people and pretending. And the reason why I say that is because there's some words I've noticed in some people. They've said, hey, I got this email, and I'll look at it and I'll be like, there's particular words that are used, like epoch, for example, or Gaussian. If you see somebody dropping the word Gaussian, it's me. Most likely it's me. Like, because I'm one of the few people that would drop that word because it's like, that's sort of my brain. So if I saw you drop it, I'd be like, Maddie listens to Carrick. That's all. I wouldn't be like, you copied. But when you start seeing emails where a lot of the same wording is used, I'm like, this might be one person pretending to be multiple people. So I don't trust most of it. I would say I don't trust 90%. And I would also say, at least from what I can tell, the couple people that talk to me because of what I did prior to coming into games are not the people talking to a lot of others. And that's because the data I get is of a weird subset compared to a lot of the data. And I think a lot of my stuff is probably line workers. So because I'm sort of a workman YouTube channel, I've noticed my stuff might come from like a texture artist. So, for example, like when it comes to one delay in particular, they were like, this is getting delayed for sure. And I'm like, oh, And they're like, no, but I work on it. There's no chance it will be, it's possible that we're not done with the art. So there, you're like, okay, this is not like a project head. This is a person in the ground level. It's almost like if you had a leak at a call center from the support tech guy and they're like, we're getting a ton of problems. The bosses haven't done the reports, but we know this is an issue. I would say I just don't say most of it. The stuff I say, I feel like it's pretty for sure if I'll say it. And
yeah, same.
Other than one that hasn't been announced yet, I'm still waiting for the Konami thing. I've been stunned by how right at least my person is. And that's another reason why I'm even more shading back now, because I'm even more nervous that like
Because if you get it
sometimes
wrong,
if you get it wrong, but also sometimes people contact you all of a sudden like they're best friends, especially in the industry. And you'd be like, is this person just contacting me? Like, I've known you forever. So if you said, hey, have you heard this? I would not take that as anything other than you wanting to do something and you've heard something. But I've got a lot of follows from people that I'm like, dude, you didn't follow me prior. And then they'll be like, hey, man, you know, in my DMs or whatever. And I'll be like, I feel like they're just trying to get one more contact or one more, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've become a little bit jaded. I said shaded. I meant jaded. I've become a tiny bit jaded over all this and a little bit more like I'll talk to you, a couple other people.
Dude, yeah, I've closed my circles completely. Like, I'm very picky with who I chat with now just because.
Yeah, because
you see that shit.
Just don't.
They're like, what's up, Maddie? It's like, fuck off.
Yeah. And I've recently got a lot where I'm like, dude, come on. And I would almost be, by the way, Maddie, if they stated the full reason why they're now following me was because of this and I want to talk, I would be 100% okay with that. It's that they don't do that. And you're like, that's why I always tell people if you want to have somebody on your podcast or you want, you like somebody's stuff, follow them and wait a little while. Don't like follow them and then DM them. And like, there's something about it where you can look, I've seen that so-and-so followed you and then bing on my DM. And I'll be like, oh, come on, man. Yeah. You know, pretend at least that you like the stuff.
Yeah. You know? If you look at any of the shows I've guested on, like I've interacted with the people for months and then hopped on their show.
Do you know the only one I haven't, and I'm so happy, was the Lords, who I know. So somebody contacted you.
How could you not, though? Their show looks awesome. Like, I watched you on that.
Yeah, but did you get contacted about your Starfield by one of them? Because he told me he was going to contact you about the leak.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, so he DM'd me. He's like, what the hell? Because he's such a big Starfield. Like, he's just, you know, he's a kid. He's like that kind of fan. And they're the only ones. Yeah. And I watched their stuff. I had seen one, but I didn't sit through their stuff because I just didn't know what it was. And then they're the only ones that like I jumped into right away. Just watched a couple things and I was like, I trust them, because that's another thing. Trust. You got to trust that they're not a piece of shit. You got, you know, that it's a lot of stuff to worry about these days. So, yeah, sad but true.
Number 4.
And you don't want to burn the poor people.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to say, like you said at first, you just don't want to burn somebody who's telling you something. I will ask them too. I'll be like, are you telling me to tell me, or can I talk about it? You know, I think that's important.
I've had that as well, where it's just like, you know, hey, is this okay to put out there? And they're like, no, I said this out of trust. And it's like, okay, you remember that. You honor that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you're like, hey, that's cool. Thanks for telling me.
It's just it's just a privilege in general. You know, it's just to know. I tell that to community managers I interact with all the time. I'm just like, not that they don't know it, right? I don't want to like over explain their jobs to them or something. I'm just like, hey, I thank the people from BioWare and EA, because they've been very good at communicating with me things, like very, very good, from review codes to content stuff regarding the DMCA takedowns that were happening, everything, like just whole process since we started interacting before the reveal. They have been like stellar. And I thanked them. I said, all we ask for is just a little information. I said, you don't got to snap back to us. You don't got to give us paragraphs, but just knowing is so reassuring. And I cannot emphasize that enough. And so I always give kudos to those teams. Like the inXile team was great. Ubisoft has been typically really communicative. Like all it is talking and just answering your emails. And I know a lot of them get flooded easily, but it's great when a team shows that their willingness to respond, for sure. Okay, now number 4. Sega's Shuji Utsumi told Famitsu that Yakuza 7 was the most successful title in its beloved franchise. This was a driving factor behind its switch to turn-based only combat, while Judgment hones in on action. More relevant to the conversation we've had on this show multiple times, as well as my own channel, he states that Sega wants to, quote, globally expand, end quote, Atlas games by releasing them worldwide at the same time and bringing them to more platforms, possibly. I've said it on the show before. It's been out before I even said it, so I'm not going to take credit. but they're going to try to bring Persona to Xbox. I'm going to spell it out. God damn it. Like, can they fucking do it already, man? I am so excited for this. 25th anniversary of Persona this fall. I would be shocked if it just, this is not even insider information. I'd just be shocked if they did nothing with what Sega's saying. Their praising of Game Pass, their desire to bring things global, their desire to bring things to more platforms, the success of Persona 4 Golden. Like, it's all right fucking there. Bring Persona to Xbox already. God damn it. Carrick, are you excited for more Atlas games that go global and on more platforms? Little Aegis 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, whatever the hell it's called. Maybe on Xbox, maybe on PC. That title needs more exposure from what I've heard. So
I don't follow those too much. I mean, I'm excited for any game that's going to come out on there, but I don't those particular titles I don't follow too much. When it comes to just them as a whole, yes, I would like. I mean, it's obviously worked for them, worked for other companies. Sorry, so I would love to see all those be on Game Pass. But I don't follow a GS Rim. I think it's a GS Rim.
Is it
a GS? Well, a GS is the term because that's a constellation. But I don't know. Is that what it's called? A GS Rim?
I don't know if it's Aegis. I say Aegis because of the character in Persona 3, but apparently it's Aegis. I don't know.
If it's AIG, but regardless, is it Rim the second word?
GIS.
Yes. Is Rim
Aegis,
the second?
Aegis.
Yeah. So I don't follow that one, but any of those. I mean, look at what's the one you like that was 16-bit graphics that had the
Octopath.
Yeah. Right. Like
Octopath,
I know somebody who, in fact, the person we were just talking about, he beat Octopath recently, and pretty much probably only because it was on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that means that if they did number 2 or whatever, that person would be far more likely to maybe dive deep into a sequel. So, I think they should all be on there.
Yep, I agree. It's made sense for so long, and I hope they do multi-platform when they say more platforms.
E3 be great to announce it.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
that's the thing. They have a lot. There's so many things that we've talked about in this show, but just in general that you go, that'd be a great E3 moment. And obviously that'd be ideal if they were all there, but I've never seen an E3 where all of the, hey, this would be cool if they did this was there, right? Like,
but what if they did? What if Microsoft just came out and they're like, normally we bring people out, but we don't have the time, so here we go. And it was just like 15 minutes of them like listing shit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, so
we made a PowerPoint.
Here's some games by. Yeah, we made a PowerPoint, and it's just like everything is just like point. We're doing, yeah, oh yeah, that's in there, point. Okay, talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Hey, don't excite me. I would love that. All right. Number 5, more on Bethesda, but this time it's less complicated. A job listed for Bethesda Game Studios Austin says they are seeking a qualified server engineer to help create and improve systems on an unannounced title. This unannounced title has appeared in previous job listings in the past. The change is that from these job listings, it had said it was mentioned for a bleeding edge RPG. Of course, it being a server engineer changes it because it would be more of an online game. This was also listed as a new IP at the time of it being listed, but has been changed. So another game from Bethesda Game Studios Austin. That's what's more significant is this listing is from Austin. So this has nothing to do with Starfield either. It has nothing to do with Elder Scrolls 6. Those are announced. So whatever they're working on, it could be anything, but here's the breakdown of Bethesda Game Studios. You have Maryland, which is the main one. So far, from what we know, Montreal has done only mobile stuff, being Elder Scrolls Blades as well as Fallout Shelter, but they also helped out a lot on Skyrim Special Edition. That was mostly their project. Whereas Austin's handled Fallout 76 and the kind of online nature of it. Juicehead had really good speculation that it'd be really cool if Fallout 4, I should say, 76 rather, started off as Fallout 4 with co-op, and then they made 76. And he was saying it would be cool if they just went back and said, hey, let's just make Fallout 4 co-op. And I was like, yes, because that's what I wanted in the first place. Like, I just wanted co-op in Fallout. I didn't want full online. And while 76 is improved, I just wanted co-op. So what do you make of a new unannounced title here from Bethesda Game Studios Austin?
But I mean, what else have they worked on?
I apologize. Let me roll one thing back. It does not say new IP. Sorry, I misread that. It does not say new IP. It is just unannounced title. What was your question?
I was just saying, what else have they worked on? Like, what's a full game they've done? A full game?
Bethesda Game Studios Austin?
Yeah.
Just Fallout 76. That was mostly their project. I mean, yeah, it's now that I say that out loud, it's like I'm thinking of the now at 76, not the not the that.
I know. I'm not though. So yeah,
kudos to you.
I don't know. Like
that's called living in the moment, baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a wait and see on this one.
Moving on.
Yeah, we're gonna move from that one, I think, for now.
Number 6, a video on Half-Life's Reddit page is one likely you won't expect. Gabe Newell made an appearance, and a video was taken of him answering some questions. One of them is if Steam will ever go beyond PC and to consoles. Gabe's answer was a pretty exciting one. He said, quote, "You'll have a better idea of that by the end of this year," end quote. This was interesting because I didn't rack my brain on this one too much. I feel like this was more suited for you. What do you think this means? What is Steam on consoles? Like, what does that look like? What is he maybe thinking of? Is that just thinking too narrowly? Because the question was about Steam to consoles. So
yeah, and it wasn't about Valve to consoles. It was about Steam to consoles. So honestly, your guess is as good as mine because I still don't understand. I mean, obviously, you'd have some overlap. I could see Microsoft and the streaming thing, some kind of weird thing going on there where it's like if you buy a game on Steam and it also exists on the Windows Store, you don't have to buy it again. Or, I don't know. But Steam itself on consoles doesn't interest me very much because most of those games aren't console. I mean, Steam, there's millions of games that aren't compatible. So I don't know what that means. Valve would be different. Then you could look at Half-Life or Portal, but we've seen some of those on the consoles. So I honestly, that one confuses me because I don't know what Steam on a console offers because Steam is PC games.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he says we'll get a clearer picture because it's not clear right now, which is maybe what he meant was, what it might mean for compatibility. Sony.
I don't know.
What if Sony's like, hey, let's fight Game Pass by having some kind of compatibility layer and having Steam stream games onto the PlayStation? I don't know.
Not a bad idea. I don't know. I was like, what if they had an app there and you could just access all your games through streaming? And it's like, well, if you have Steam and you have all these games, you likely own a PC that can game. So is it stupid for me to say, why would you want to play them on a console? Or is it like...
No, it's not why. It's just where would the importance level be? Like on a 1 to 10 scale, how high up would that be? Like, would people be like, oh my God, or would they not? And I can't see a lot of people seeing, other than, like I said, and like you said, the streaming thing. I don't quite know what the Steam... I think in the old days it would have been a bigger deal, but with Microsoft having their store and Sony having their store, you don't want another store. And if that other store is PC titles, then what does that mean for consoles? Yeah, I don't... And what's weird is who asked him that? Why would anybody even ask him about Steam on PC? Or on consoles?
It looked like it was at a university. Like, it was just a random post on the Half-Life subreddit, and he was just sitting there on stage, and there were a bunch of students, and it was funny. One of the top rated comments was like, Gabe Newell. It was like E3 2021. It was just silence. And it said like a random university. He's like, sure, I'm in. He does like a whole interview there.
No shit. That is true,
like,
right?
What the fuck?
That's what happens when you're an old dude with enough money that you can do whatever you want. He just chose at a university. He's like, yeah, I'll come there. I don't need to go to E3.
It's like Todd Howard when he goes and he went and like spoke to some random university and
it was a random
he did like a whole
university.
presentation there. Yeah, it's like, okay, like that was when Todd Howard wasn't like at E3 all the time and stuff.
Maybe the person asking and maybe Gabe maybe there was conversation prior and after that contextualized that they meant games. Valve games versus Steam, because the Steam thing's confusing me, and I'm sure somebody maybe has a better idea and they can comment, but right now my brain isn't coming up with some moment
they said
unless
Steam
they
to
meant
consoles, so he was answering that. I don't know, could be just Valve games, maybe that's what he meant. We'll see. I don't know.
as a person who doesn't mind a bunch of shit on everywhere, I don't even understand why, unless there's a compatibility layer, why that would be a thing.
Is it VR? I mean, that
would be Half-Life, and that would be Valve versus Steam. I mean, unless he's like somehow conflating
Steam VR on. I don't know. I'm like Steam VR on Xbox because Xbox doesn't have VR. Like, is that it?
Okay, here we go. I'm going to read this. This is Screen Rant, which we don't. Yeah. Anyway, it says Steam may be coming to consoles. Teases Steam may be coming to consoles according to so blah blah blah. Games like Half-Life 3 may even come to consoles as well, which separates it even more. Stating that Steam is separate from Valve hinted that Steam might be making its way to consoles. It's hard to say what this might look like, but fans have been hoping Half-Life Alyx will come to PS5 versus via the PSVR, which is what we talked about. But that, by the way, is not Steam. That is Valve. It's possible this is part of what we would include in a hypothetical new version of Steam, but it'd also be a way for players to play PC games via the cloud. Okay, so we've talked about that. So I think we have actually hit. I think we've reading here. I actually think we've hit the exact same points everybody else has hit, which is possible VR, possible streaming, and possible confusion over Steam versus Valve, which I can see that being a thing for sure.
Yeah, I can't blame him. I'm sure he didn't expect like someone to be sitting there with their phone out recording it and answering something like that. That'd be my guess. I don't know.
It's a unique question for sure.
Number 7, just a quick one. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is a PS5 console exclusive for at least 6 months. So this is something that a lot of people are pretty hell-bent on 7 Remake making its way to Xbox. And this is where the confusion comes in. I don't know if there's a separation between 7 Remake Intergrade and 7 Remake, where 7 Remake could maybe come to Xbox while Intergrade is PlayStation 5 exclusive. But I'm imagining PlayStation is going to continue to pay Square Enix to keep that off of Xbox because they're adding like Final Fantasy X and X-2 to Game Pass today as we record this Wednesday. So maybe they just want them to stick with the old stuff and just be like, hey, give us the new stuff, keep the new stuff here. Because right now it's kind of a winning formula for PlayStation. Just like I told Xbox, attack the things that are exclusive, that are third party, like a Persona, like get that on Xbox day one, like just weaken him, like make it where you have the exclusives and the third party offering. So PlayStation is playing smart with this game and just saying they're keeping 7 Remake. So I have nothing else to add on that unless you do.
I don't either on that one. It's sort of just confusing.
Yeah. Number 8, this one is exciting. Talking to Arcade Berg, who's the game director, and Tor Frick of the who's the art director on the Ascent, we have some new details thanks to a interview with WCCF Tech. So it still plans to release on PC and console this year, 2021, and has been in development for over 3 years. The Ascent is targeting 4K 60 on Series X and 1440p 60 on Series S. There will be crossplay between PC and console, so grouping up with your friends won't be difficult. A playthrough of the main story missions will supposedly clock in at about a surprising 15 to 20 hours. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Any details on it I'm interested in. I'm looking forward.
What are the details on it?
It's just the really story length and the resolution.
Oh no, I meant,
output.
do we know much about it, about the game?
I mean, we've seen a decent amount of gameplay for it. We saw it's been in like 2 different trailers. I think it was at the ID at Xbox event back in March. I'm trying to think here. It's like an isometric action RPG with like cover shooting, which is kind of weird for a twin stick shooter like it. But it's also got like progression.
Damn it.
So
okay, I know the game you're talking about now. Dude, this is the worst name for a game. I didn't know what you were talking about until
you don't like it?
I fucking hate it. I hate it because, dude, it took me until you said twin stick for me to remember what game this even is. It's too generic as a name. It's just, it's almost like disavowed or avowed, whatever the fuck that other game is.
Oh, Avowed.
From, yeah. Terrible name.
That solo name. Yeah.
It's those names that just don't, like the Ascent. It's a twin stick shooter. The Ascent doesn't make me think twin stick shooter at all. And it's a cyberpunk. It looks awesome. I saw the Ascent video. It looks great. I just wish they'd rename it something a little catchier, a little bit I don't know, something that fit it a little bit better. But now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I want to see that game. Looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So here's hoping for more details at E3, like a release date.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that too.
Right. That's what I'm
Dog,
wanting more
you're
than
having a bad
anything.
dream. Sigh. All right. Can't wake him up. Sorry. He's freaking out in his sleep.
No, you're good. Number 9. Friend of the show, Mike Rose, has shared some useful insight on how Xbox Game Pass has powered Descenders. Over 4 million people have played the game across Xbox, PC, and xCloud.
Damn.
The deal has been renewed to keep it there for a long time, so if you have yet to check it out, go ahead and do so. Some additional stats show that the downloads for the game were stronger in the second year than in the first. The game sees 1 million sessions every single month, and as a teaser, Mike said that they're going to have news on a Series X/S launch of the game extremely soon, so by the time you're listening on free feeds for the week, this may very well be old news. But I wanted to go ahead and pop it in here because Mike was the person I interviewed for a deeper look at Game Pass, and a lot of people really enjoyed that episode. So I thought I would highlight even more details on what Game Pass is doing for particular games out there. Descenders being one of the biggest benefiters of Game Pass. So yeah, that's all we got for the news, though. And now we can get into the rest of our show.
I'm just really happy for him.
Yeah, I am too. He's a good guy. One of the people I've met in recent years where I'm just like, especially because here's the thing. This guy I don't know, he's got a superpower. He knows how to sell a fucking game. I was looking at some of the shit he was posting. He knows how to sell a game. Like when I sell a game, I'm going to go to him and just be like, Mike, play this, take a look at it and fucking price it for me. Like what is the value for this? Cuz he understands like what a premium is and paying for that and rewarding your fan base while also anticipating a sale and how you can still be in a profitable area despite discounting your game. He's just very good at that type of stuff on a business end without being a piece of shit. So very much enjoy, Mike. All right. Are you ready for Game Pass pick of the week?
Oh, shit. Yep. Let me grab the PDF.
Gotcha. All right.
You
I'll get
can go
started first. Yep. So my Game Pass pick of the week, different one. Kingdom Hearts 3. So I feel like the older Kingdom Hearts games, I love Kingdom Hearts 2. It's one of my favorites of all time. I've replayed that game a tremendous amount. I have love for all the Kingdom Hearts games in one way or another, but I will say there's something about Kingdom Hearts 3 Critical Mode that will just really, I think, tickle a particular fancy because you're going to die a lot. So if you want a really oddly challenging experience, try Kingdom Hearts Critical in general. With Kingdom Hearts 3, I think, is one of the more accessible ones. You get a lot of tools to play with. You're very much overpowered. It is a pretty easy game, whereas the older ones were more difficult and not in the crummy design kind of way. But still, Kingdom Hearts 3, the reason I picked it is because I do think that this game doesn't get enough love. I have a lot of problems with it, but it does get dissed pretty often. It does get dragged pretty often, and for the obvious reasons. But one thing that you could tell when you play it, it has this very clear intent to explain things more clear than previous games has, which shows a steady understanding of the situation the series is in, which is that it's kind of convoluted. It is convoluted. But I've always had a spot in my heart for Kingdom Hearts. And if you've avoided Kingdom Hearts 3 because you've heard a lot of critiques of the series, don't let the internet get you jaded. It's worked on me with Kingdom Hearts where I've stepped away and I'm like, this is stupid. But I will say, despite it making no fucking sense at times, I'm happy that games like this exist. It's good perspective to have because when everything is serious, when everything is like this crunchy, gritty experience and there's no levity in these moments like this where you get a Kingdom Hearts 3, I feel like that's what makes our industry stand out. So stuff like Kingdom Hearts 3 should be worth a look. And I really did enjoy my time with it when I played it. It wasn't perfect by any means. There were some really weird moments throughout. And I was disappointed with the lack of Disney bosses. You've probably heard all of this before, but it's still a good game. So if you're a fan and you've avoided it, please check it out. If you're curious, the rest of the Kingdom Hearts games are on Game Pass. Please do give them a look. But 3 is the one I wanted to specifically highlight for today's conversation.
If you're King Curious, you can check out King. It's King Curious. That's what we call it.
King Curious,
mine is Army of Two. So Army of Two is a 360 game.
Oh.
But Army of Two is one of the most balls out shooters I've ever played. This I don't know if people remember, but basically two player co-op split screen if you want. Two mercenaries who, when they end up killing people and when they end up clearing areas, do like air guitar on their guns, and a bunch of you can choose like different fist bumps. It's just so over the top. You have to take it like that, obviously, because you are gunning down 1,000 fucking bad guys. But Army of Two never really spoke to me as much as Army of Two. So Army of Two, the sequel, never spoke to me as much as Army of Two, the original. I think it was just because it did something completely new. It was fresh. It was goofy. And I actually think the shooting's cool. It also does have the Nerf fucking gun shields. So anybody playing this is how unrealistic it is. It's got a shield on your own gun that can stop. Like, that's sort of like trying to explain that, that's how some of the bullets aren't killing you. Whatever. Just jump into it. Trust me. It's got cool customizables, and I would assume like runs fairly well. I thought it ran well. It's still 30, but I mean, you have to expect that on an older game. But yeah, right. I loved Army of Two. Again, this is the original. I don't even know if the sequel is on backwards or on Game Pass, but I do know that that the original is. You should definitely check it out.
Right on. Tyler Blaylock wrote in with one of our first Game Pass pick of the week write-ins in quite some time, or incidentally. May not have been intentional, but Tyler, you have been selected. Sup, gents? Maddie, I have a bone to pick with you. How can you be so evil as to recommend Dragon Quest Builders 2 a week before Mass Effect's collection is out? I now have Dragon Quest Builders 1 being delivered today, and I just can't stop. That's right. That's what I like to hear. I return the favor and recommend Undermine on Game Pass. Roguelite/roguelike, whatever they're calling it now. Binding of Isaac style dungeon crawler. What sets it apart for me is your objective is to survive and mine as much gold as you can to upgrade your long-term equipment and potential item pickups for your next run. The feeling of progression is just more noticeable and rewarding for me personally. Anyway, thanks for the content, boys. Have an average day. Thank you, Tyler. This is just another Game Pass pick of the week for everyone out there who's curious, and I will keep this in mind because it's very easy to glaze over Game Pass and just window shop and not really take an action. So this is in my head. Descenders is in my head as games that I will pick up and try out and tinker with for future picks of the week. So I appreciate those of you who write in with suggestions. Backwards compatible pick of the week is up next. For those of you who are looking for a little 360, little original Xbox action, I got you covered. I put Dead Space 2 down. Dead Space 2 is just, I think it's probably my favorite horror game. I really do. I don't think of any horror experience as fondly as 2. Because it's that mix of scary, like you have I won't spoil it for those who haven't played it, but you got the fucking nursery part, man. And all I'm saying is like, that shit sends chills down my spine every time because it's fucked up. Everything about it's wrong. It's a really risky play for a game, and I think they did a good job. I don't think there were as many cheap jump scares. I think there's this really satisfying gameplay feedback with the plasma cutter where you can turn it horizontal and you just tactically pick apart your enemies. It's just the tool set that they really give you at the end of the day and the ways that you can use it, the kinesis, or what is it, kinetic? I'm trying to remember what they called it, where you could like stasis, you could like slow down time and whatnot. And then being able to pick them apart with different weapons. It is such a good game. Not super long either. Kind of an annoying final boss area. I will warn you on that. But overall, Dead Space 2 is like, to me, one of the crown jewels of horror games. Maybe not for those of you who are horror buffs, but if you have yet to play a Dead Space franchise in general, I think they are all fantastic. It's one of the few trilogies that you can say, in my opinion, some people have some gripes with 3, but all of them are really good. But 2, I think, is that great blending of developing the characters, adding a lot of fun gameplay tools, while still being scary and keeping that DNA. 3, little less scary, but still really good. 1, it's been a while. I'd like to go back to this trilogy at some point in time, but that's my backwards compatible pick for the week. Also available on Game Pass, I should add.
Really good HUD, too. Like, that's like the HUD you always hear, the UI you always hear people talking about, is that one, where it came off of the thing, and then it also had your health on your back, right? On your spine.
Yeah, it was all built into your body, pretty much. That's how you monitored your character.
Very well done. Anything that stops you from looking at the corners. Like, I like the idea of it being right in the center. Yeah. And mine is, so, I don't know, how long this has been delayed or when it's coming out, but the Lego Star Wars game is coming out, and it's going to be all the Star Wars games at some point. But there is a Lego The Complete Collection, which is the first 3. And I'm going back and playing Lego. Admittedly, Lego's a little bit more complex than I remember. So, like, with the Lego games, I always forget that sometimes you have to have another guy to get to a spot, or, you know, there's sort of that interplay that definitely came about in some of the later Legos. Mm-hmm. The original Lego, you could just play, and there might be a bonus if you had a flying character. Now they're sort of complex. But this was I think this is a good middle ground, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Which the Star Wars Classic Collection, or TLC Collection, I think is what it's called. The only thing that sort of bothers me about suggesting is because I don't know, with this other version coming out, it's going to be all the games, and from what I understand, you can go to any world in any location, any game at any time. So it's sort of like one-ups everything about this backwards compatible title. Right. But on the other hand, I don't know when it's coming out. And I don't know who's got, you know, like what systems people are going to be playing it on. And I'm a big Lego fan. So if you don't think you're going to jump into this big brand new one, you could always jump into, there's multiple backwards compatible ones. There's Batman. I just think the Legos are pretty cool for a relaxation game. Don't take them too serious. But yeah, as a relaxation game, I've really, and I obviously City is another one I love, but I don't know if City's backwards.
Dude, they're like the kind of perfect junk food game. You know, you can just snack on them when you want, and they're usually typically pretty good. Like, even the ones that I am less infatuated with, like Lego Batman 3 or sadly Lego Lord of the Rings, like, I still would enjoy them a little bit. You know, they're not these bad games. They're just
like Lego
I like more than
Jurassic Park as well.
I'm not a Jurassic Park guy in general, so I never bothered with that one.
Makes sense.
Because it's like, you know, you obviously need to be a fan or interested in some way, shape, or form. So, like, I was interested in Harry Potter. That was fun to play with my girlfriend. Marvel Superheroes 1 is probably one of my favorites of all time. I love that Lego game. Because
you liked Avengers 2 as well, didn't you?
Lego Avengers, I did not. No.
Oh, okay.
I liked Superheroes 2. Superheroes 2 was not as much as the first one, but I liked Superheroes 2.
Gotcha.
Oh, you might be thinking of Lego Batman 2, because that was like the turning point for that series. Things were really stale for them, and then they went open world, and they made like a really cool game where your whole roster of characters was like accessible from that open world space, and there were side missions and stuff, and everyone was like, wait, this is a Lego game though, and it was really good.
That's the way I felt about City.
Really, really good.
City was not what I expected. Yeah. City was like, holy shit, mind-blowing how good City was as a game.
That's why I'm
not
excited
a
for the
Lego
Star
game,
Wars one.
but a game. Yeah, so am I. I mean, it just depends on how that is one thing, is depends on how they present like the open space. Is it confusing? Because there are definitely times where you're running around a Lego game and you're like, holy shit, there's so many things I need to do to get just to a roof of a building that sometimes your brain is like, fuck it, I'm out. You know, it's just because they are more complex than many other games that are out there. Even though they're called Lego, you'd think they're easy, but and I don't mean that they're not easy from a gameplay standpoint. I mean, all the things you may need or to get an Easter egg or a secret can be pretty complex.
Yeah, man, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the Skywalker saga full remake, remaster, whatever. They're going ham on that game, man. They keep pushing it back because they're adding more. So I'm really, really jazzed for that one. Next is an audience inquiry. I'm making a little bit of an executive decision here. I was gonna fill in our PC deals of the week. This may seem weird and out of place, but I do want to just connect with the audience real quick because we get feedback on all our segments, but this is the one we get the least feedback on. And it's been about almost 20 episodes as we record this. So I just want to tap in with the audience and make sure this is a segment they still find worthwhile. It's our shortest segment. It's really kind of a quick one and done thing, but it does add time to the scripting and the researching of the show. So I just want to make sure that those of you find value with this. And it's not just useless filler. Because originally it was between the backwards compat and the Game Pass picks of the week, where some people were like, it feels just kind of in there. So we put it to the back end. I just want to make sure people are interested. So I did not do it this week. I do like finding these deals. Sometimes they overlap with Game Pass, though, I've noticed. That's one of my personal critiques of it is I've noticed like I'll not pick a game that's on sale because I'm like, that's on Game Pass. We talk a shit ton about that. So I just want to make sure that people are still interested in this. So please do sound off with feedback if you're listening, whether it be YouTube comments or Patreon post, wherever. You can tweet me or Carrick. Just let us know because I just want to gauge this real quick. And we'll either return to it next week or we'll, based off your feedback, maybe consider shutting it down. But I just want to touch base with the audience. And so we'll leave it there and then move on to the 5 ending questions. It starts off with Justin Robinson. Hey, Carrick and Maddie. Off the topic of video games, do either of you go fishing? Listen to the episode 18 on my way to the mountains of West Virginia to go fish and native brook trout. And I wanted to let you both know I've been really enjoying the show. I highly recommend it if anyone's feeling cooped up during the pandemic to try out and get outdoor, and enjoy the outdoors. I don't care what you two say. I hope you have a phenomenal week. And please keep making the best Xbox podcast on the planet. Your friend, Justin. Very kind write-in, Justin. Thank you. Carrick, do you fish?
Now, my dad owned a fish plant till I was 18. If I never see a fish or seafood ever again, it'll be way too soon.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
I figured that was a rhetorical question for me to you, but I was just like, for the audience.
Yeah, I used to fish occasionally, but I don't want to have anything to do with seafood, river food, lake food, whatever. I'm just done.
That. Yeah. I get that. I used to fish a decent amount. I always thought it was just kind of a good excuse to sit out in the sun and really do nothing. It's been a while though. I personally struggle. I understand the need for it, by the way, so please don't misunderstand me, anyone listening, but I understand the need to fish, hunt, all of that stuff. But as I have grown older, I've become more sensitive to that stuff. Like I can't watch videos of like hunting, even if it's animals on animals. Like I'm just very sensitive to it. Like I just feel bad.
Yeah, no,
and
makes sense.
I know it sounds ridiculous because I'll eat meat, I'll eat seafood. So it's like, what the fuck? I guess it's just ignorance is bliss, right? It really is one of those moments where it's just like, I don't need to see it. I know what's happening. And so fishing, I didn't have like a bad experience or anything. It's just like one day I was like, I don't want to like fucking hook this guy from his mouth and puncture his gill and just pull the hook out and be like, oh, look what I got, dude. And just fucking throw him back in like he's a pile of trash. It's like, just let him live his life. If I don't have to, other people can do it, but I don't need to contribute to it. I'll go out and sit on a boat or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't jive with me like it did when I was a kid. I loved going fishing when I was a kid. I'll still go fishing, but I won't fish. I'll just be out there as a part of the activity. I don't want to participate in it. I don't know. It's just a thing that's changed with me over the years. Like there was that video of, it pissed me off, dude. It was like these guys like running around with like fucking hammers and like hitting seals. Like they were coming in off of like helicopters. And they were like killing these seals in, I think it was the Arctic or something like that. And that shit, like, oh my God, bro. I was fucking fuming. I hated that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even like that.
Because they were like killing for what? It's just sport.
For fun?
Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, that's twisted, man. Yeah, it's like murderous tendencies. All right, Luke Blackwood's up next. Salutations, Maddie and Kraken. I've spent the past week. Yeah, I guess. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it works. I've spent the past week playing through Mortal Kombat, and it got me wondering why Xbox hasn't, sorry, I can't read right now, made a new Killer Instinct game. That game was pretty well received and had a huge fucking shit. I almost want to restart this whole thing. That game was pretty well received and had a huge post-launch push. But as of 2017, it's been radio silent. I think Xbox could use this IP to complete with PlayStation using Street Fighter and Nintendo having Super Smash Bros. Plus, the Killer Instinct community is still alive and kicking. What do you guys think? I'm sorry, Luke. I fucking butchered your message, man, but we got through it all. So, Killer Instinct is a game that we get floated through our show every now and then. People always want to know, like, hey, is this something that should come back? Does Xbox need a fighter? What happened to it? And you and I are both pretty strong on the notion that it's time. It's time to get a fighter, Xbox. It's
I don't think it like is
time.
Required for their library. I just want a fighter.
Yeah, right. The thing is I always bring it up, but dude, these last 2 years, if you look at the Game Awards categories for best fighter, like there's one new fighter, maybe, and most of them in that category are re-releases, and it's like, dude. It's such a dead genre right now. I talked about it a little bit. I think their post-launch support is very ancient in how they release characters and new arenas and maps. And it sucks because there's a technical nature that kind of keeps their game alive for years. But in the terms of the mainstream, it's really hard to stay relevant because they just don't release content as fast. They don't. Like, I always talk about Dead or Alive 6, and I loved playing the game, but they didn't have fucking private matches. And it was like a big deal when they dropped it. I'm like, dude, this was like 8 months after the game came out. This should have been
DLC
their day one.
Was trash.
Yes, exactly. It's super dated. And so that's why I think
Smash
you see
Brothers
less fighting
works
games.
Also, because it's just such a, it's like, there's so much going on. It's just a little bit different than like 2-on-2. I mean, we all enjoy a 2-on-2 and you can play those games, but I just think that we've moved on for right now until something, I mean, I think Mortal Kombat, that's just because it's got such a long-term fan base, they can do it. Tekken can do it. Tekken had pretty good sales, but I think for the most part, introducing a fighter is scary as fuck if you don't have an IP. If you're not Dragon Force or not Dragon Force. What's the one that Fighter Z?
Dragon Ball. Oh yeah, Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yeah, if you're not Dragon Ball, right? Or if you don't have a big anime behind you, I just don't think a fighter, right? You have to have some other hook. Fighters by themselves just aren't doing so hot. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's why you're seeing Ed Boon was teasing like maybe a Marvel fighter of some kind. You know, he's been really putting it out there. So we will see.
Though, I mean,
exciting.
Yeah. You know, Marvel's so big, I always forget that some of these characters in the same world. And of course, they had separates, especially in the IPs where they didn't want you to know Wolverine was in the same world as like some of these other super uber powerful ones. And so it would be cool to see a Marvel one, I think. As long as power creep would be difficult in those. Because, dude, some of those guys are so, it's not, DC's got some freakish power, admittedly. But Christ, Marvel's like a power gamer's wet dream on some of those characters. So you'd really have to make the story make sense.
I would love to see an Invincible fighting game. After watching the show, I think that would fit really well. Yeah, especially because it's got that gore. Like, I would love to see NetherRealm take a crack at that. I don't think they ever would, especially when Marvel's on the table. Why the fuck would they?
Boys making your own. Oh, you haven't seen The Boys. But it's the same thing. But anyway, yeah, that would be cool.
Jono is up next. Hello, Mr. Marty Plays in Carrick. The conversation around next gen always tends to hover around visuals. However, after The Last of Us 2, which has already pushed the boundaries far in the terms of graphics, it makes me wonder, have we hit critical mass? With games having the compatibilities or capabilities of looking so realistic, what should be another metric we use to determine if a game is truly a next-gen experience? As always, thank you for taking the time to read my comment. Wow, I'm really fucking up at the end here. Love you guys, and looking forward to replaying Mass Effect again, too. Nice. I think it's the controller. I think that's what's starting to happen with PlayStation, at least. With Xbox, they don't really have that defining thing you hold or interact with right now.
No, and I don't think graphics look even close to realistic at all. Like, not even in the same. I think maybe detail on the face does, but when you look at their lighting, it's way too cartoon-like. There's a huge number of things that change for things to really. I think interactivity is a big deal for me, but I want everything to be interactive, like in a Bethesda game times 10. But when it comes to like items from the companies themselves, Microsoft doesn't really. I mean, voice control, I think, would be a big deal. I just don't think they'll do it. Adaptive triggers sometimes, but for the most part, I think those are give or take. I really haven't been in love with those. So, sound,
right?
Sounds like a good 3D sound is a big deal.
Yeah, sound's the one that people got to wake up to as well. You don't even have to be like a sound guru. Like, you know a lot about sound. Like, I'd say I have a general knowledge about sound, but it's not like terminology driven. It's not like deep, intimate interaction. Like, you can just start to tell when good sound is occurring, and it's like people need to be able to do that. Dude,
when you fire a gun, it's the first thing you like. Does it sound like a cat is used as a silencer? Does it go like? If it does, that's just not going to work for me. But when you get that gun and you're like, boom, and it's got the trail where you hear the far away, that shit, dude. When it were even Returnal had a really good sound to its pistol, where it'd be like, and you could hear it bouncing, and it's like, that's the jam right there. That
Yeah.
shit's cool.
Joseph Barker is next. I have not seen this, so I'll be curious if you have. Hey, Dookie Dukes. Have you guys seen Mythic Quest on Apple TV? I know it's not based on real life, but it shows game development from a side the public rarely sees. Do you think a show like this is good for the growth of the video game industry? So it seems like you've seen this or checked it out at least.
Yeah, it's imagine like just goofy behind the scenes of a game, and I think at the starting it wasn't doing well, if I remember right. But it's like an MMO, and it's like the behind the scenes making of, and a lot of the inside jokes about everything from power to microtransactions, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And is it good for the industry? Sure, anything. I mean, anything that I don't see it. It's not trying to be serious. It's not an expose. It's not a documentary. It's funny for some people. I'm not in love with it, but I get why people would be. As somebody who's run call centers, there was a call center TV show that was out for like 5 years. And that also helped bring, sort of people understand what it's like working in a call center, answering a call from some jackass who, is like, doesn't know how to turn their PC on. So I think all those are very cool.
Right on. Yeah, I kind of want to try it out now because I had no idea it had even released. I remember like Ubisoft, I want to say, announced it on their stage, and it was like, what is happening here?
Yeah, they did, didn't
kind
they?
of interesting concept, though. So
now that I think about
I'll give it a look.
They did.
Jake Williams is our final question with an additional comment from Not Skywalker, which I thought was kind of neat. Hey, Maddie and Carrick. We got Outriders and MLB The Show day one on Game Pass instead of having to pay the normal $60 to $70. This was awesome for Xbox users who saved $130 and got to play both AAA titles. With so many games releasing this year, are there any non-first-party games you hope or expect to be on Game Pass day one that haven't been announced on Game Pass yet, which we did answer? I know any game on Game Pass is a good thing. I'm more so asking for your professional knowledge on how games are added in the first place. Now, for the follow-up from Not Skywalker. I wanted to add on to Jake's comment rather than repeat a subject. Per the PlayStation blog, MLB The Show and Outriders were the first and second most downloaded PS5 games in April, respectively. US/Canada market data. Outriders was also number 2 in Europe. We now know both these games were highly profitable through their Game Pass deals, and apparently it did not prevent them from selling well on PlayStation. I do believe the developers of these two titles were biggest winners of April, and I look forward to seeing which third party capitalizes on this next. But I am keenly looking at EA's Battlefield, which everyone keeps linking it to it. I must have missed something. Everyone keeps linking Battlefield and Game Pass, but what I really wanted to talk about here was, it was interesting because we had a write-in somewhere in our comments that asked like, hey, is Game Pass stopping people from buying games? Because look at this example here of something that didn't do well. Or like, I think it was PlayStation's games sold versus Xbox's. I think it was something along those lines. And then you have something here where, everyone kind of won twice. And PlayStation wasn't drastically hurt by this move. But I want to know how you feel about this outcome here, where Outriders was a day one Game Pass, but it was still a high-ranking, high-selling title. Is it a product of its time, as in time of release, or is there something more here?
I think it's a product of its time, and I think that it had a lot of positive PR. People keep forgetting. Outriders did a demo. Outriders did a ton of stuff that was insanely positive, and they have done an incredible job failing from the moment of release on. Including right now, most Outriders channels I know have dropped it as of last week because Outriders simply is not telling them what's going on. Multiple issues.
Yeah, their communication's been bad.
Communication is terrible. So we do know it sold well. We don't know the returns, number one. That's the sales. So we don't know how many returns, which could be quite a number of them. But I don't think Game Pass, to answer that question, really impacts sales across any board, because I've bought games that are on Game Pass. I know other people have. I would say that it might be slightly lower, because if you have Game Pass, you look at a game, you're like, I'm going to play it. I don't need to buy it. And then there's other games where you're like, maybe you don't look on Game Pass, you buy the game without even thinking, because I've done that too, where I've bought a game and then went to Game Pass and been like, Jesus, it's on Game Pass. And then a lot of times I'll be I'm not even returning this. Like, I wanted it enough to buy it, whatever. I'm just going to keep it. But I would say when it comes to Sony and stuff like that, there wasn't a lot And Outriders had a freakish amount of positivity, and MLB is a Sony game. So those two are not the best examples, but I would say I wouldn't have expected anything other than that in the time frame. Outriders, guys, people don't realize it. Outriders went from, oh my God, what is this? To demo, to people, other influencers having played it and said, this is actually a blast. The amount of positivity towards that game when it was coming out is ridiculous. I remember being shocked by how positive everybody was. Like, it was just positive, and then Microsoft says, boom, Game Pass as well. That's not going to stop a PlayStation owner who has sought a PlayStation from scalpers. That's not going to stop them from buying one. Of course they're going to buy it.
Yeah. Well said. I don't think I have anything to add to that at all.
Did you get baseball?
I did not buy it. I have it on Game Pass downloaded, but I have yet to play it. Been meaning to, but just these releases caught up. And I do want to focus on some of the new stuff because we're getting a lot of good new stuff right now. I'm enjoying Mass Effect, I'm enjoying Resident Evil. I'm looking forward to playing some other games can't talk about. So yeah, just I think I'll get to that sometime in the coming weeks, but we will see.
Gotcha.
For now, that has been episode 19 of Defining Duke. We hope all of you enjoyed. This episode wasn't as long as I was anticipating, which I think is a good thing, but I was like looking at the news write-up. This is probably the longest script I had to write in the terms of like time spent. And I was like, this episode's going to be huge, but I think we did a good job managing the subjects. So tip of the cap to both of us. We did excellent.
Yep.
I'm going to commend us with excellence before the audience even tells us anything.
We pat ourselves on the back. Anyway.
I'm a big believer in that. Pat yourself on the back first before anyone else can do it. You got to love it first before anyone else can, you know? Like, this is a good show, and we know it. And then give it to them.
It's so egotistical. I love
it. All right. We hope you all enjoyed. If you got this deep, we saw a lot of you write in with the hashtag. Thank you so much for that, both in the comments and on Twitter. We are getting tagged all week with that. A lot of you tagged us with hashtag texts you can hear. So thank you so much for letting us know. It makes us really happy to know many of you listen for the whole stretch. So if you got this deep, what's sitting with me right now, what's sitting on my spirit is that I couldn't read at the end there. I just couldn't do it. It's just...
Text you can't read, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be text you can't read at this point, right?
Exactly. Let's do text you can't read, because that was your issue. That was your issue. I have like these skips throughout the show. I was like, I'm at a pretty good pace, and I think I got in my head. Because right when I thought that, it was like the third question, I just could not fucking read. I just psyched myself out, man. Like it was a big game, and I fucked up. So text you can't read. You choked.
Let us know. YouTube, Twitter, you got our handles, at G27status, at Jeremy Penter, and we hope to hear from you. Until then, if not, we will catch you next week with episode 20. Sorry, 20 episodes. That's wild. Of Defining Duke. Take good care of yourselves. Peace out.
Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the good old USA. The show was conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Jeremy ACG Penter. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level or higher on Patreon, and we're grateful for your kindness and generosity.